Happy to be here. Yeah, Griff, thanks for having me, man. Chat, good to see you again. I'm TenthSigma. I am happy to be on the show, and part of my deal is just flying around the verse, making money, spending money, and I think that's what we're talking about today. So happy to jump into it. Happy to talk with about the state of the game with the Invictus week here. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. So happy to jump in. Excited to jump in and talk about it tonight.
Over again. Okay, I'm not going to do Ten's part. I'm Griffin Gaming. You guys know who I am. Soul Citizens. We're going to be talking about Show Me the Money. Okay, that's the abbreviated version. Tenth,
Yeah.
dude, what I was saying was for Tenth to tell you guys why we are common brothers beyond being brothers. So anyway, let's move on to our next person, which is our the man who I call the Professor, Kimmy65. Kimmy, tell everybody a little bit about you, bro. Now, Kimmy doesn't have audio.
Oh, Sam,
There you go. There you go. Oh, you just decided to do that. Okay.
Look, I'm a passionate gamer. I love what's happening here. But yeah, old school gamer. Sci-fi. It's in our DNA. Love lore. Love storytelling. Take me to those faraway worlds, and I'm all about it. But this Star Citizen thing, whatever it is, man, it has pulled us all together. And I just want to give a shout out to the beautiful people in chat. Gaz, Colossal, Montoya Tess, Ms. Hearts, Embatted, Old Mad Fat Cat, Pig Mike, Pluto Dip Planet, Shiver Battery, Scarrow, Space Cloud. Thanks for stopping in, y'all. Let's do this thing, man.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have everybody here. I have to say this before I move on to our next host. Kimmy, you decided to dress down like us. What's happening? What happened? This is Mr. Star Citizen himself. He must have ran in the house and said, "I gotta hurry and get behind this camera." I'm used to seeing my brother tricked out. This is taking some shock on me, brother. This is
Everybody has laundry day.
Is it laundry day?
Everybody
Okay,
has
that's
laundry
it, Kimmy. It's laundry day, right? That's all it was, right?
No, this is about show me the money, the careers. This is about having those jobs. So I'm
okay.
coming ready for the job and talking about
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
no, it's about showing that money.
All
So,
right. Okay. Old
I'm
man.
coming to work.
Yeah.
I'm coming to work.
All right. Old man, thanks for following. We appreciate it. Cosmic, thank you for following as well. And last but not least, our good friend, Mr. Fastcart. Fastcart.
Hi, I'm fastcart, and also known as FD. It is heck hard to follow that all that hype. I mean, if you ever want a hype man, you gotta hire Timmons. You can't get more hype than that. Anyway, yeah. So I'm fastcart, also known as FC. He's blushing. I love it when he does that. I am potentially a marketeer, someone who manufactures and sells stuff in the PU when the game launches, and I have a bunch of ships. I became concierge, 2 years after I first back, and yeah, so yes, show me the money. Let's get started.
Yes, that's great. And by the way, since you just mentioned concierge, Kimmy, are you concierge?
That I am, sir.
Tenth, are you concierge? Tenth, are you concierge as well?
Oh yes.
Oh, okay. So
I think it'll be easier just to ask who isn't concierge.
well, yeah, that might be true. But I didn't know whether or not there were some among us who had not reached that level in the game. So that's the reason why I want to ask. Since our topic is show me the money, well, I just kind of want to know where everybody's at. I won't ask how much you've spent, but we all know that if you're a concierge, you spent a decent amount in backing Star Citizen. So listen, audience, we need your participation today because we're going to be talking about two subjects. The first subject is going to be with Show Me the Money. What are ways that people can make UEC, money, cash, green stuff, whatever you want to call it, in the game, both currently and in the future. And then the second part of the show is going to be about how people have spent money on Star Citizen. So that's going to be, really interesting. So, I think that's going to be definitely the pitch. So let's go ahead and progress on. We're going to be talking about careers, and there are more things that you can do in Star Citizen that's listed here. I've only got 9 here because of time. And if you guys want to suggest any other ones, those of you who are in chat, definitely remind us of any. But here's some that are listed, and we're going to kind of hit them one by one as we go through. Let's hit the very first one because it's pretty popular with a lot of people, especially with the new ship that's going to be coming out this week, the Cutlass Blue, and that's bounty hunting. Any of you guys interested in that? Have you done it? Not interested? What's the scoop on that one? Fastcart saying no, Shimmy saying yes, and Sigma staring. Which one?
Not my deal. Not my deal.
Not my deal.
Not your deal?
In that profession.
Okay. What is it? Is it just that that's just not interested, or it hasn't drawn you in? Are you curious about it, or what?
You know, here's the thing though. Here's the before we jump into all these careers, the thing that I'll say is that they're all interesting. Like I don't see myself not doing any one of them. Like saying like absolutely not. Like not gonna touch it. Don't want to do it. It's more of like I haven't explored it yet, and my focus in the game doesn't have bounty hunting as a priority, right? I'm pretty sure that once the game fleshes out and all these mechanics are in and you have all the careers are rocking, we're going to be exploring, at least in some respects, you know, an aspect of all of these. You know, even if the game introduces you to some missions where you could do certain types of bounty hunting or, you know, the deliveries and mining and all that kind of stuff. So, that said, it's not my deal now, and I don't have anything that kind of lends itself to me doing any bounty hunting right now, but it could be something in the future.
Okay.
You know?
When you saw the Cutlass Blue, did it make you think twice, or were you like, nah, still not my thing?
I had a Cutlass Blue as part of the Independence Pack from last year.
Okay.
And I melted it.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Gotcha. Okay.
We'll see.
Fastcart, I'm gonna go to you before I go to Kimmy because Kimmy's the one yes man in the room. So what about you, Fastcart? What about this whole thing with bounty hunting? You're a lover, not a fighter, right? Is that what you're gonna say?
You know it. You know, still took such part of my answer, like exploration. Exploration, it's gonna be part of my deal, and you know, hopefully I'll be able to make money from that. But as far as my main goal is gonna be manufacturing and selling. So
Okay.
between those two, hopefully I'll become a millionaire.
Okay.
I mean, I've done it in other games. I probably, you know, each game is different. Like, it was really hard to do it in EVE Online.
Okay.
Especially when you're trying to be self-sustained by game time code within the game. You have to worry about this, that, and such. And things. Hopefully, I'm just able to, you know, make money as I see fit.
Okay. Cool. All right, Kimmy.
But as far as bounty hunting go, yeah, that's not my thing.
Okay.
Cutlass and the Drake, it's not that I hate Drake or, you know, dislike Drake. It's just that it's not one of my favorite ships or favorite manufacturers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Let me sort of throw mine in real quick, Kimmy. I'm not a big person on bounty hunting. I think it's very intriguing. I think it's very cool. And I was a little tempted. One of the first ships I bought when I got in the game was the Avenger. And for you guys that remember back in the day before we had the variants, the original Avenger had jail cells in it. And so I kind of thought maybe that would be something I'd be interested in. But they also were talking about modularity at that time of the Avenger. I was interested to see what it looked like, especially after the red came out, because I liked what they did with the red. When I saw the blue, I said, wow, it looks nice. Great visibility. The chambers, the whole idea of imprisonment looks very cool. But it's still not the thing I think I want to get into. Not to that level, you know, where I'm committed. I might help somebody else go after somebody, but do I want to be the one who's loading up 5, 6, 7 bodies? And I think I got a little bit more intrigued after The Mandalorian came out too. You know, you kind of see in that series this dynamic of bounty hunting, and I was like, hey, he's got him in carbonite. That's pretty cool, you know. But as intriguing as it is, it's not my gameplay. I remember one of my buddies, Cosmic, and I think some of you guys who bought in early on the Cutlass Blue might remember, there were premiums that they gave out with the Cutlass Blue. One was a stun baton, and the other one was handcuffs. You could only get that in the early days. And I maybe if you go on eBay or something, somebody's selling them, but I'm sure they're extremely valuable right now because they've never offered them again since the original sale. So anyway, Kinky, you're right, Pluto. All right, Kimmy.
I have to allow that. That didn't go through.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh, it went through. That's all right. Kinky was not bad. All right, Kimmy, give us some thoughts, man, on bounty hunting, dude.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, the premise of bounty hunting and the fact that Chris mentioned what you mentioned, Griffin, was that the Mandalorian really put bounty hunting into perspective. And even though we knew what that was with the old Star Wars series with Boba Fett, we kind of had a feeling of that, what that was like. And I think the approach and why people are kind of bowing out of bounty hunting is that they kind of look at it as a one-dimensional thing to say, I'm not going to do that at all. But when you layer all these different careers, it's one of those things where once you've established or you set yourself up financially and you're in a good place, this is one of those risk-reward type of careers you can try, knowing that you've set yourself up pretty nicely. So it's a little change of pace of just, doing the day-to-day things just to keep your bottom line up. So that's my premise. That's why I want to get into it, is that everything is taken care of. I'm looking good in regards to finances. And then I want to delve into it. But here's the other levels of bounty hunting. You don't have to do it by yourself. True. You can crew up, as they've shown as of late. SIG has shown that cooperative gameplay is really key to this game in itself. So I don't intend to do bounty hunting solo, especially if it gets to the point where you have to track down and hunt down other actual people in game, not NPCs. And so it's a risk reward. And if you're set pretty nice financially, it's worth taking the risk on and a chance to change pace on things. So I definitely, and as you said, Griff, Mandalorian has really changed the whole landscape of what bounty hunting can truly be, especially if they really flesh it out correctly. You can pretty much hunt down people for days, if not weeks. Yeah. Trying to, get them and capture them, and you open up the advent of not like the Mandalorian said, you can bring them in warm or cold. Right. So in that aspect, you don't have to kill them. You can capture them. Right. And you don't have to do it by yourself. So that's something to consider right there.
And thanks for mentioning that, because I really didn't think about a group aspect of that. And one of the things that Star Citizen will provide, which we know already, is plenty of bad guys, right? I mean, a lot of times this is focused around NPCs. Yeah. But Kimmy, I didn't think about the fact that the level of gameplay is going to change dramatically when we're much more in pursuit of human players, right? As the universe expands, the systems expand. I mean, right now, I feel like there's hiding places all over. If I had to go look for somebody, I think I'd be frustrated. I mean, if somebody's in a cave or something, but I can't imagine what happens when you've got 3 or 4 systems with multiple planets, multiple moons, And so it'll be interesting to see how they develop this mechanic of tracking people, because as you mentioned in Mandalorian, they've got this thing with trackers. Yes. But it's got to be something that's going to be a little bit more specific to people who literally want to be bounty hunters, versus people who just happen to run across a bad guy because they see a red dot on the screen. You know what I mean? Yes. The other thing, some of you guys, and for those of you who are in chat, you may want to toss some ideas on this. I was talking with Colossal about this earlier, and it's the question of how do we start dealing with restraint? Old Man asked the question and said, is there going to be more form of non-lethal takedowns? Because at some point, we just saw last week, they showed how they're doing body dragging, but there is this question of how do you get them to your ship? How do you get them inside of the the tube, the prison thing? What is it called? Cells. The holding cells. One of the things Colossal also showed me was that the cells are blue and red, and evidently when they're red, they're in like the transition or sleep mode, or when they're being incarcerated, and then when it's blue, they're considered active. So there's like this lighting system that's inside to let you know the status of the person that you're traveling with. Yeah, fastcart.
Interesting. Real quick, I hope they have other ways of indicating which was what, because there are people who are blue and colorblind.
Yeah.
I hope there's something for them.
Yeah, and that's an issue in general, because one of our friends, Standard Dev, deals with that with just the HUD. And that's why they're hoping that eventually, I don't know how the cells will be, but I know that they want to start being able to allow us to, deal with the HUD and put in certain colors and everything. Chain Dragon, thanks for stopping by, man. Good to see you. Let me ask one more question about bounty hunting, and then we'll move on to the next subject. Is the Cutlass Blue a challenge to those who bought the Hawk? Any feelings on that?
It's cooperative.
So you think the Blue becomes cooperative and maybe the Hawk is single person kind of thing? Space Clown, good to see you, bro.
It's all about
Thanks
your
for
flavor.
following.
And if you're adept, if you're skilled enough to be that one guy who's really, or gal, let me get it straight, guy or gal who's really adept at FPS
Lady
and
Space Patrol,
really
thanks.
hands-on and great with that skill set.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it singly, or you can do it as a group.
Is there
It's
a
your
pro or
choice.
con? Because the Hawk only has one seat for restraining somebody, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, the Hawk, from my understanding, people who flew the Hawk love flying that ship. They say it's very maneuverable. The only thing they've looked at is that it only holds. That's the only negative I've heard about it, is it holds one person, right? But both ships have the EMP built into them. They're both designed for bounty hunting. So you think maybe that solo person may take a Hawk? Is that maybe the idea? Because the Hawk is actually cheaper than the Cutlass Blue too, if I'm not mistaken, guys.
The solo person can take either.
Yeah,
You can go as a group.
Yeah, or
I see it.
Take 2 Hawks and several.
I see it as a
Blues.
situation where you might have a Hawk, like kind of like you're saying, Kimmy, like you might have the blue as kind of like a, if you're a squad, you think about Dog the Bounty Hunter and that kind of deal, right? If you're a squad, you might have like the blue be like that hub, right? Like that's where everyone, and then you have these follow-on vehicles like the Hawk or anything else they might release that's kind of bounty hunting related. And you guys are just patrolling in a way, because you might have a situation where you want to, if you have think about it, like if you have a very high value target, you might just want to throw them in the back of a Hawk, a single cell vehicle. And, or if you have 2 high value targets, you don't want them anywhere, kind of going into a blue together or being close in proximity that way. You just put them in 2 separate vehicles and just call it, a day that way. So I think that, the solo bounty hunter might start with a Hawk and upgrade to a blue, but there's always room for a entrepreneurial type to kind of set a fleet around or a small squadron around having the blue and the Hawk in their thing. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think it's pretty cool though. I think that'd be awesome.
Raytheon, thanks for the follow.
The key word that you said, Tenth, is really important. A high value target or key value personnel that's being hunted. You would think that they're going to have an entourage with them to protect them, or they're going to travel in a group, because they know that they're hunted. They know that they're going to be hunted down, and so there's strength in numbers. And so that Cuddy Blue can be a body stacker.
Yeah, and to your point, Boogie Hauser, thank you for following. To your point, I think you mentioned a point there I wasn't thinking about too, Kimmy, and that's the fact that where the Hawk is that single player ship, the Cutlass Blue definitely is multiplayer. It's designed to be multiple people on it. So that's a good way to distinguish those two. Let's move on to the next subject, because we've got, like I said, 8 more to go. Repair. My good friend Red Wolf has been desperately waiting on his Crucible, wanting to do repairs, right? But we also know that for repairs, there's a lot of mechanics involved with that. A lot of things have got to stick. We've got to have salvage. We've got to be able to, take resources and minerals. They got to be able to be purchasable, and we'll see this when we talk about the Pioneer as well. What do you guys think about the Crucible repair? What's the other one? Is the Vulture? No, not the Vulture. The Vulcan. Thank you.
Yep.
The Vulcan. Yeah. How important will repair be in the game, and how do you think people can make money doing repair?
I think in the fleet operation, that'd be really important. Like if you get like maybe 3 or more people. Like, well, you have 10 people. You have more than one repair vehicle. That would be real important. Like it's like, I'm imagining that at the end of beta, there's supposed to be a operation called Operation Pitchfork. And so like in Operation Pitchfork, a whole lot of people are going to get blown up on both sides. Against the enemy and us. So having a repair, logistics side for repairing and stuff like that is going to be really crucial in that operation. So yeah, it's like, I mean, for making money, in the PU, I can see like people putting around in certain systems, and certain maybe safe system, unless you have a fleet guard escort or something like that. May want to venture out into pirate system But for pilot, it's going to be very important too because you can't go to a safe system. So you got to have a buddy, a pilot buddy, who can help you out. So that'd be really crucial.
Good point.
Yes.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this like this. If you're that, as Fastcart said, it's about cost. It's about if you are that survivor of an attack, or even if you were the aggressor. At the end of the day, if you need repairs, and we're talking about not having to go to another location or not being able to get to that location to do repair, you can send out a distress call or a mission giver to say, hey, I'm in need of repair. And one of the most coolest things about the Crucible is the fact that they said this themselves. SIG has said this, that based upon that particular ship, the repair mechanic will have that ship in better condition than it's coming off the showroom floor from the manufacturer. What's not to like about that? And especially you're talking about competition and other Crucibles out there that maybe or possibly could offer a price for their services. You would imagine, even still, you have that reputation system of, you get a 5 out of 5 star of your repairs, and it's gonna, of course, it will be at a higher price. Whereas you say, well, I just have the port side of my ship, left side of my ship, mostly damaged. I'll call somebody who's maybe 3.5, 4 stars, and I can make some savings on my bottom line. Mm-hmm. And so it prevents you. Well, it helps you, and if you're not able to travel to those ports to get those types of repairs, someone can be Johnny on the spot and help you out. But I love the Crucible, man. I cannot wait for that ship. I kind of see myself wanting to get one. Unfortunately, I was not able to get one at the time, but it is based upon the size of your ship, you can have a better ship when it's all said and done with the Crucible.
Well, by the way, it's on sale now, Kimmy, so feel free to take your credit card out and purchase one. It's available.
I was just about to look it up. It's available.
$350 at your Anvil store right now.
Show me the money.
There you go.
Wow. I think you guys pounced.
I think that so I have a Crucible, and the one thing that I was interested in doing with it was being able to service vehicles, ships, vehicles, in the sense, kind of what you were saying, Kimmy, like, if you are, again, if you're, I should kind of preface my view of the careers is they all allow for some entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like, you could do a lot with just one career, kind of sprawling out and doing what, making some money, being the best. So think about it like, I'm an Origin guy, but you can quickly gain a reputation. Let's say, your 890 needs parts or some kind of service, and you could quickly become the, a authorized servicer, or, somebody who can, I service high-end luxury ships, and come to me if you want the 4 to 5 star service with the deal, blah, 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 yada, yada. And so I think what's cool about it is it can play both sides. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but think about the Crucible in the front end servicing vehicles and ships and, doing it right. But on the back end being a kind of chop shop, if you know the owner, the right thing to do, you can change the tags on some of these ships, get some of these guys out of trouble for a little bit of a premium, so I think it's super awesome how, some of these, to have a repair ship means more than just, I'll just, call the space, AAA or, and they'll come and kind of pick it up and, do my deal. Like, I can actually set up something where I'm actually being able to supply different areas, different systems with support services, so I kind of see it as, again, you talk about the Hawk and the Drake, or the Hawk and the Cutlass Blue, you kind of think about the Vulcan and the Crucible, just kind of making that, solo ship, big operation ship, and making it work for you in that regard for repair and kind of refueling and whatnot with the Vulcan, but mainly repair at this point.
And thank you for mentioning that, because Boogie was asking about will they be able to do refueling, and yes, to answer that question, we know that the Vulcan will have drones that can do refuel and repair and restock. The Crucible we'll have to get more details on, because it's been mostly focused on from the repair aspect. So we'll have to see what happens with that particular ship. But as you mentioned, these are careers that people can first of all, in an org's going to need this career, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to, because obviously the resources that are brought in are going to be used to turn right back around and hopefully help do maintenance and repair and whatever else is needed. And there's another ship that we would include in here with this area of repair, and that's probably the Argo SRV, because that vehicle, the tow truck, right, is the one that's going to be retrieving ships and bringing them in to a Crucible.
Yes.
If a Vulcan, for example, can't be reached to get to it. So all these ships are going to play together and have a role together in the game. Yeah. So anyway, I want to skip on, guys. I know we got more to say about it, but I'm going to keep going here. Medical, real popular with a lot of people. Cutlass Red came out last season. People got really excited about the ship. We talked about the pros and cons of the ship. The fact that it has the medical bed in it. A lot of folks have been using it as a respawn point. We will say this again for those of you who don't know, that is only for now. It will not be a respawning point later. So don't get upset later when CIG changes that bed into a level 1 bed and you can no longer respawn in it. It is intended to heal minor wounds. It's supposed to be an ambulance. It's an ambulance. The Apollo, which was on sale yesterday, is more of a triage, higher level, beyond just you hurting yourself, but to keep you alive and sustain you. And then ultimately we get to go into the hospital or the Endeavor, whatever, the Endeavor, right? And we get into the higher level thing where you can actually respawn if you die. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, on the Apollo, you can swap out 3 of the beds to get a bed that will fully heal you. If I remember correct, anybody in the chat remember that? I'm pretty sure I remember them saying that on that particular ship, you have to lose, because there's 6 beds on the Apollo. You got to lose 3 of them in order to get that 1 bed that will actually respawn you. Okay, so let's talk about medical, guys. How important is medical? Go ahead, Fastcart, jump in.
I was just going to say, but Griffin, it's unfair to tell people not to check when something happens, because how people are going to get all that salt.
People in Star Citizen never get upset when things changes. You're absolutely right, Fastcart. That was totally my mistake. Fastcart, give some thoughts about medical. What do you think as far as how it can be in gameplay? How can people make money doing that?
Medic. Over here, no, it's gonna be very profitable. I mean, like again, this is just another logistics thing, but this is also for FPS or ship, so you can do both if you really want to.
Yeah. Did you read Montoya's comment, Fastcart, down there?
Say it again.
Read Montoya's comment.
I don't believe in medical. I think players should just pull themselves up by the bootstraps. I'm just going to leave that one alone and continue on with my
What were you going to say? Yep.
But so yeah, for like FPS or ship combat, for FPS, you have a squad, have 1 or 2 medical people in there to heal up people, and continue on in the business. Like I was talking to VTM Vampire Masquerade people on Shiver's channel on Wednesday, how maybe they could emulate the Trinity, have a tank, DPS, and healer for more the darkness. You could definitely have something like that in Star Citizen.
Good point.
I'm not sure how many is it. Well, you can make your own squad, like 4 people or more, and have as many DPS or healers or things as you need. So that'd be interesting. As far as making money, you can charge for your services. It depends on where you are, though. Like if you are, if you're on a planet or something like that, where there's no one around, and then somehow you can put out a call. You can definitely do it in chat. But I mean, like if you want to role play it, you can also do it that way. But for ships and stuff like that, you can bring a couple of thread and you can body drag them to back to the cutlass thread and heal them that way. So.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make that a lot of possibilities to make money in any of these things.
Colossal asks a question here. He says, will there be a specific use for the medical doctors? For example, will a medical professional in-game be able to use the terminal, look for the type of injury, and fix it? My question to that, Colossal, is it's implied that something like that will be there because they've talked about reputations for every career. And the only way you build that reputation is by doing something. So I think it's going to extend more than just like your mate who pulls out a MediPen and heals you. Some of you guys will remember back in the early days. This is going back, y'all. Do you remember when we used to respawn? We would respawn in the hospital. Do you guys remember that at all?
Yeah.
Okay, remember that? Yeah, Area 18. When you died, you didn't wake up in your hab. You woke up in the hospital, right?
Yes.
And that was one of the mechanics that they were testing at that time. I kind of hate the fact that the hospital right now, like Maria and the other ones, aren't open because I really like that aspect than waking up in your room and having to come downstairs. But I would really believe that they're going to develop that because they've implied it even in the illustrations and concept drawings that they've done, that there are people who literally, they have dressed up as doctors. And for those of you who remember games like Star Wars Galaxies, there were people who, that's what they did. They were a freaking doctor in the game. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't fly anywhere. All they did was sit around and take care of people's wounds and injuries. Remember the cantina? People would sit there and heal people. So there are people who literally, that's all they want to do. They're not worried about exploring. They're not worried about getting into any battles, but they will be those people that you can count on. And you guys know that for medical, injuries are going to go from everything from blood loss to broken leg to dismemberment, right? Having to get cybernetic parts. So medical's a big, big area, real big area. Kenny, you going to jump in?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Montoya, this is for you. I don't believe in medical. Come on, man. Come on. Look, the premise of what Star Citizen said, death of a spaceman, that's going to be a pain in the ass, man.
Yeah.
You're going to do everything you need to do to avoid that because that means your reputation, all of that stuff is going to go out of the window and you're going to have to sign it to your daughter or junior or your little nephew.
Your brother, whatever.
And you're going to have to recoup that reputation. But again, you don't want death of the spaceman. You want to continue where you left off. And when it goes back to what we saw from Star Wars, as Griff mentioned, the cybernetic parts, and then the fact that we want to exist as much as we can because there's going to be that reputation system that we need to adhere to continue to do things,
right.
Because NPCs will play a part in that. So you need to stay alive. But unfortunately, you're going to, depending on where you go and who fixes you up, and whether or not you have the best services, you're going to show those scars. You're going to have those battle scars. You're going to maybe have that as the lady in Nyx with the cybernetic leg. It's not going to be fun. But death of the spaceman, they said it's not a glorious thing, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. And you're going to want to have medics to take care of you and bring you back to that extent of, well, if I have to pay a certain amount, take me to the Endeavor. It's going to be about what those services are providing, who can do it, and what you're willing to pay. I kind of feel that
yeah.
You're going to have to really kick out the top dollar to have synthetic parts to look good, to say I'm still healthy. You don't want to go to a chop shop, a Drake chop shop, where they're going to do what the hell they want to do with you, and you walk out and you stuck with it.
Discount limb, no discount limbs. That's a good point.
Yeah. I believe in medical because I don't want death of the spaceman. Even though they said it, I don't want it.
Yeah. J2, I want to go back to the point you raised. Let me say this before J2. Wait, hang on a second, Fastcart. Hang on a second. J2 corrected me on something. And J2, you're right. The medical doctors in SWG and Star Wars Galaxies actually did buffing. And then when you went to the cantina, they removed Blackrod. And I guess my point was that there are people who do like certain careers that maybe other folks aren't interested in, but they're happy just doing that one particular thing. And I think medical will be one of those categories. What were you going to say, Fastcart?
I just want to say, if Montoya doesn't believe in medical, can we all agree that we just won't heal him at all?
I don't think that they're gonna let that happen to the
it's
guy.
gonna cost them.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Gotta pay up.
yeah. Sigma, any thoughts on
It's
the
gonna
medical?
cost you 10,000
No,
UEC.
I think that with medical, I think it'd be cool to see the distinction between kind of your combat medics and kind of your more civilian types. You know,
Yeah.
the ones that I would say you're looking at kind of right now in the screenshot, the medical ones. You know, where you kind of go into a facility and
Yes.
you know have to get service that way. And I also was thinking while you guys are talking about this, you know, you might have in some more affluent places medical doctors who Griff, you mentioned kind of the skill based or the reputation based. They might actually go to an area that is more affluent so they could practice there and make more money versus someone on the fringe who opens up you know, a clinic there that kind of like what you were saying, Kimmy, you know, just, you know, you're going in there, you got to get stitched up. Like you might literally walk out with your arm stapled back on, you know, like compared to like, you know, going to somewhere where an endeavor has sat for, you know, think about the possibility, guys, of creating research universities or like research hospitals where, you know, like you're role playing that aspect to be able to go into these, you know, well respected places and practice, you know. It's a pretty cool idea. So I'd love to see how medical kind of fleshes its way out. And I know that there will be a lot of creative minds who think about something that go along with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And J2, I see your message. No, I have no problem with you correcting me because I don't want to put out bad information, and what you said was absolutely correct. And to answer your question about buffs, the devs have already alluded to at CitizenCon last year that some of the narcotics, the drugs in game, will have both positive and negative effects. So there will be in other words, they alluded to them being buffs. Yes, it's a buff, but there may be something that comes along with it. You may get a certain amount of boosted stamina, but when it falls off, you fall off really hard. You know, it doesn't mean necessarily it's going to be something bad for you, but they are talking about that those things will be included in game. And you'll have to find out what those, obviously it'll come out eventually. People will know what each one of the drugs does, some of which you probably want to stay away from, other ones you'll take, but maybe only under certain circumstances. You're going into battle, you need something that's going to pump you up a little bit more, give you extra boost, but maybe it says within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're going to have a hard crash on it. You know, so there's a lot of things they can do in that area of buffing. So it's a very, very good question. And regarding prosthetics, yes, they've already told us that's coming. Kimmy alluded to death of a spaceman. It was death of a salesman. I'm going back to college here, high school.
Right?
Death of a spaceman.
Old school, man.
Yeah, death of a spaceman is definitely going to be real. They haven't mastered it out yet, but what they have alluded to is this. You will only get so many times that you can come back. That's basically what it comes down to. And you never know what that time is. It's not like an arcade game where you see I've got 5 lives. If you're in a bad enough explosion, you're gone. If it's bad enough.
If you get shot in the head, you're probably gone.
Shot in the head. Another type of explosion, you might lose a limb or badly burned. I mean, it could vary. So there's a roll of the dice, and this is all going to also start to factor into how people play the game. All the things that we do that are non-risky subconsciously, we know we're going to respawn, we're going to come back, everything's fine. That's all going to change eventually. Go ahead, Fastcart.
You know what? Go ahead.
Real quick, Chris Roberts, since the death of Fishman article came out in 2013, CR had clarified and put out additional information. He once said that if you have the money, you can buy back live because you can reset your counter depending on if you have the money and go to a specialized or good enough hospital to do that for you. So it is possible to delay it. Unless they change their mind.
Yeah, but I bet that ain't gonna be cheap, brother. That's like going to get put in a cryogenic chamber or something. It ain't gonna be cheap, whatever that is. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, what you said, Griff, and what you said, 10th, it made me think of this. Based on the premise, okay, 10th, you're saying this is keeping in concept about making or show me the money. Making the money. You want to go, if you're an Apollo or if you're whatever a medic ship that you have, you want to go to those areas like a Pyro or those outer fringes where there's going to be violence. There's going to be a lot of medical need. So when you're talking about on the precept of making money, you're going to go to those places. And as you said, Griff, about the quality of your repair, your medical treatment, that may have a detrimental effect or a positive effect of how many times you get to come back.
Yeah.
If you get a hack job, it's going to mitigate to like bad health eventually. It's like, what the heck did they do to you? And then eventually it's like, kill me now. I can't deal with this. You got a hack job. And with what Tenth said, as far as gameplay mechanic and the career base and gaining that reputation and being able to really dial into that gameplay and really be able to bring people back in a fast track way and very efficient, you will make that money. You will gain that reputation because you are out there and they know who you are. But you have to draw the line where it's about making money and the quality of work because you're going to be limited on supplies. So you got to know when to cut it off and say, I'm sorry, buddy. Death of the spaceman. You're done. I can't service you. Because it's going to interfere with my reputation.
Yeah. J2 asked the question too about whether or not they'll be able to do things to develop the pharmaceuticals and things like that, and that's what ships like the Endeavor are for. They have the research capability to take something that they find, whether it be on a planet or whatever, and enhance it and make it better. They'll even be able to do things like that with weapons and components. There's a lot more upgrading to things that'll be able to be done. I'll throw in the last final joke that Cosmic threw in. It scrolled by very quickly. Cosmic basically said, "Death of a salesman, don't drink water in the game." That's basically it. Okay, so that'll bring it for you. Okay, let's move
drink
on
water
to
only at spaceport. You might get a parasite coming out of your eye inside your helmet.
Okay, next category, delivery. And this one is really interesting because a lot of people in the beginning ignored delivery. They wanted to jump right in and do a whole lot of other stuff. But delivery is actually a good entry-level way to get into the game and make money fairly quickly. I saw back in the day that I was doing delivery missions and pulling boxes for 6,000 to 8,000 if they're FTL missions. I grabbed 3 boxes on the same moon, make sure they're all going to the next same moon, and I'd make 20 grand within 30 minutes while people were still trying to figure out how to, take risks and all this other stuff. So delivery, what do you guys think about, when it comes to these delivery missions where you're just doing something? Some of them you just got to take a dead body and throw it out the back of your ship, right? I mean, what's the deal with delivery?
Wow.
Yeah. I think delivery missions are super lucrative. I think they're if you have a sprinter type ship, you can just load a thing in. I think about the Pisces. I think about the Titan. You could just run in there, put your box down, zip off, zip down, run it in. I think it's a really cool way to pass the time. Maybe if you I think of situations where, think about it like this, guys. The CIG has talked about before the wait time between cargo loading. So if you are in kind of that industry, that profession of goods transport, you could be having your main ship being filled. You might be on the list, something like, hey, come back tomorrow, like we'll have all your stuff ready to go, ready on the pallets, blah blah blah. You can start doing some sprinters in a couple of different smaller ships. I think about the possibility of even the rovers came out this week, and when we get roads in between cities and outposts, even on the same planet, taking some stuff to other places and just making a little bit of change along the way. I think it's an excellent kind of low risk way of doing things, a way of making money right now. But certainly this particular career, I believe, kind of whets the appetite for those who would want to go into more broad scale delivery, but it's certainly something like real quick, I can get it going. It's a way to put some change in my pocket to buy this or buy that, or a good way for somebody who really doesn't want to go down a career path that we mentioned earlier to just get started making money, to pull up the funds they need and the assets that they need to go into the career they want. So it's a good entry level.
a good way to enter into the game again. You know, we're not, obviously, if you're a big gamer and you've already been doing this and you're running Caterpillars, you're not necessarily worrying about going out and getting like you said, a Titan and running one or two boxes.
Sure.
But for people who are just trying to get into the game and start to understand the mechanics, and if nothing else, they get good practicing on landings and takeoffs and all the other good stuff, and they get to see a little bit of the universe. It's definitely a pretty economical way to make some funds. Guys, Kimmy and Fastcart, bear with me. I'm going to skip past this one just a little bit because I want to get into some meat with these other bigger ones. Construction. I won't even talk about it, but the Pioneer, kind of in the same situation as the Crucible in the sense of the mechanics, you know, still being developed. We know they're going to need resources in order to be able to build bases and things of that nature. But Fastcart, I'll start with you this time. How does construction, this Pioneer that Consolidated Outland is making? We were all impressed by the presentation a few years ago. Costly, you know, ship to purchase. What's the deal with that? Is it specialized? You think anybody can do it? What?
I'm thinking it's specialized. I mean, if you have the ship, if anyone has the ship, anyone can do it. But you have to have the ship to do it. Maybe they'll make a smaller version for like a smaller base in the future. I can see them doing that, especially for Consolidated Outlet or even another manufacturer. But as far as the Pioneer goes, it's I don't know how popular that ship was. I don't imagine it was that popular, but there was some people who are into it. Some people who want to take over a whole moon, a whole planet if they can. Especially like a big org. If you have enough people in it, they could probably take over a moon or a planet. But I don't see that many people are having a Pioneer, but I could be wrong.
Okay, Kimmy,
that's an org ship, man.
Oh, go ahead, Tenth. Go ahead, Tenth.
No, I was just my piece on it. That's an org ship. That's a heavy lifter. That's going to get some real things done for groups of players. And compare that to when they bring back, or those who still have or are able to get the land beacons from when those went on sale. You stake a couple claims and then you build some base around your claim. That's exactly what that's for. I think that's really cool. And it'd be a asset for fledgling orgs who want to kind of move into the planet side of things, you know, not just having their space command. So yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah, very cool. Kimmy, give me some thoughts in the sense of when we talk about construction, right? I mean, a lot of times people think about the base being built the first time, right? Because a lot of people said, oh, once all the bases are built, you know, what am I going to do with that ship? Do you see future use for that ship beyond that? Because I know there's going to be a dynamic of people's bases maybe being wiped out, right? Maybe.
That's a possibility, Griff, because based on this ship is it's based on logistics, and if logistically speaking, you're going to build a homestead on the fringes. Expect vandal, expect piracy, expect people coming in to attack or take. And so, with that said, is your system fortified to a point where you don't have to worry about it, or do you have to build up? So, going forward, to make the construction or this ship relevant in the game, is that you come back and fortify, modify, and build on a modular system to build this homestead out. And when you're talking about the sheer literal space that we're going to have, and you're on the fringes, then you're talking about when you're talking about, as Tenth mentioned, squad members, and you're doing things interactively, then you're talking about, well, you talk to a squad member or a guild member, and you say, okay, I just built my homestead here. Now, all of a sudden, what happens with that? You're in a squad, you're in a guild. It makes perfect sense to start saying, well, I need to build several of these modules because it's going to fortify my guild. I'm going to have my neighbor, which is my squad member. And now you're talking about units. You're talking about numbers of players fortified in one central area. Now you're talking about potentially a community now that's vigilant in mitigating piracy, fighting back, pushing back the vandals. So in that sense of longevity, this ship will put in work. But at the same time, when you talk about the ship and how it's supposed to be used, you have to go in with the mindset of logistics. You have to know if you're in within UEE territory, yeah, go ahead and do it. Do solo. Now you get a mission caller that says, "Hey, I want these modules here on the fringes." You better have a freaking entourage with you to go do that, because if you do that by yourself, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I just want to see it explode. I want to see a big explosion. Boom.
Some people just want to see the world burn.
Hello, fastcart. Talk to me.
Definitely.
Talk to me.
Definitely. All right. Some of you guys remember also, and I'll just kind of highlight this, we're looking at the image of the construction of the Pioneer, but you guys saw that there was a mirroring of the design of the Pioneer with what we saw of the Shubin Mining Corporation. There's a design similarity in those two things. I'm just pointing that out. Let's jump to the next thing, mining. Speaking of mining.
Woohoo!
Yeah. One of the first careers that's actually entered into Star Citizen is mining. We went from the prospector to being able to do hand mining in caves, and then the mole, and then there is the up and coming Orion. Are any of you guys into mining? Not into mining? What?
It's a big deal for me.
Oh, really?
It's a big
Everybody?
deal for me. Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel they're progressing? Because I came out of Eve with mining, and in Eve I enjoyed it, but admittedly, you could turn on your mining laser and read a book. You know, that was pretty much it until you got filled up with capacity, and then you hauled your stuff away. I was always intrigued with how they would do mining. Elite Dangerous actually has a pretty new, nice concept of how they do mining now. They've expanded on theirs. How do you think CIG's mechanics are going so far when it comes to involvement with mining, and how do you make money with it? I mean, do you feel that the way they've got it structured right now is a way that you can actually lucratively make money, or is it too difficult? What do you think?
No, I think it's hit a very sweet spot, Griff. I think that with the progression of you have now given you put the bugs aside and kind of the tweaking of it, but what they have here is a very good gameplay loop. You could mine in caves. You could take your prospector out. You could take the mole out with group gameplay, which is obviously we've been saying is a group gameplay being important to CIG. But when you consider that the interaction between the pilot or the FPS miner or the operators of the beams is something that needs to be taken into account. What kind of lasers you have, what kind of consumables you put into those lasers, and then you're talking about the return. You know, like what's your cash outlay to begin with versus how much money you can make in your current asset. So I think it's fantastic. And for me, when the mole came out and I picked one up. That was for, I forget what the patch was, 3.6, whatever it was. It was something that we consistently did. It was something that consistently worked for us in our org, and something that consistently just made us a lot of money. We go on these missions, these mining ops, and we would just go out to Aberdeen and just scour the planet surface looking for great rocks. And then now that when you think about pointing and shooting in Eve, there's Scordite over there, let me just kind of pick it up. This is kind of like, well, each of these is worth a little bit more, and each rock can contain different kinds of ore. So you want to think about how you extract and what the risk is, how fast you want to move, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's in a great state right now with what's being offered. FPS, yes, could use a little bit of work in terms of just how you're maneuvering that the FPS the mining laser. But by and large, being able to do it in caves, being able to do it in prison, there's a lot of growth around that gameplay loop. So I enjoy it.
Very cool. fastcart.
Well, Fred, I'd say if people who are coming from Eve and expect the ease of use of mining from Eve and Star Citizen, they're going to get blown up a lot. So
Yeah.
like you said, you can just read a book and even while you're mining. You have to pay attention in third citizen, and that's gonna trip a lot of people out. But I haven't done it too much in third citizen yet because I don't want to like burn myself out. And, because I intend to do it a lot once the game launches, and the money that we make we will definitely keep. So I'm trying not to do it too much now.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it, and like I said, I'm gonna manufacture my stuff. So I'm gonna definitely use my own mining material to make stuff, and so it should be interesting. And I hope that I don't have to go. I don't have to go to any place dangerous to risk being blown up.
Yeah.
Because unless I have a group of friends who will come with me to help me mine and stuff like that. So yeah, it should be interesting.
I know this is going to sound funny, maybe weird. I have never been attacked in a prospector, and I've gone out with it. I can't tell you how many times. I've never had anybody come after me, and maybe the other people have. I don't know if it's just because right now there's no real good reason to do it other than target practice, because it's not like they can get the resources from the ship if they destroy it. So if that maybe that will change later if there's a way to retrieve resources. Of course, there's a danger of blowing them all to Kingdom Come and you not being able to get them. But I've been pretty fortunate, and I've mined it daytime, nighttime, whatever. And to this day, I've never had anybody really harass me while mining. So in Eve, that was not the case. In Eve, that was not the case. I don't care, no matter where I mine, low sec, no sec, it didn't make a difference. High sec, boom, that was it. Anyway, Kimmy, go ahead, buddy.
You guys are a hard act to follow. Very well said, man. So many layers to this, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. Fastcart, yeah, you definitely nailed it. You don't want to go to the places that you don't want to, but you may have to. Griff, you nailed it, man. It can be tough. I'm gonna throw the tech into this. When we get to the point where we have physicalized items, and then you're talking about the aspect of what we're mining and what value is, be prepared that dynamic will change. And as we talked about earlier, alluded to the crucible, the materials that's needed for the crucible, maybe iron ore, it's worth crap right now when you compare it to Quantanium. And to what Griff said, Bokuden 07, thanks for the follow. As Griff said, he never had problems. For the first time when I had Quantanium, I was heading to Port PO, and these Gladius, 3 of them just blew me out of the sky, and I was like, crap. So yeah, it could happen. But to what all of you alluded to is the fact that once Tony Z gets physicalized items, iCache in game, now he's going to manipulate all of those objects. He's going to give you a finite number of particulars as far as materials, what their value is worth. And based upon the interaction of the careers and what's needed, the supply and demand dynamic, you will see where diamonds aren't worth a crap. You will see where iron ore will be worth everything. And then you're going to scramble. As Fastcart said, you're going to go to those places because your bottom line will tell you need to go there or you're going to fail. You're going to have to go there. And depending on how much of that demand is in regards to that particular pyro, a lot of battles, a lot of fights, a lot of repair, ore is needed by crucibles. You're going to break your neck to get there. Matter of fact, the better squads or orgs are going to have entourages to protect those prospectors and those Argo moles to extract that iron to get out to the crucibles.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that to mitigate that, to keep that value of something, with physicalized objects, the game loop would possibly be, as we talked about cargo, you can maybe capture, get this low value material, save it off to the cargo area, you'll rent it out. And once that value of demand goes up, then sell.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But when we're talking about supply and demand, be prepared for that with mining, because that dynamic is going to really change once Tony Z gets physicalized objects through iCache, and he's going to change. He's going to flip the script based upon what people do in the game and what becomes supply and demand and what becomes valuable. It's going to change.
Yeah.
So you're going to be constantly running those ships. It's going to be fun, but there's going to be a time, logistics and time. So that's what I have with mining, but I do love it. 10th, great explanation of the layers involved.
And to your point, Kimmy, like you said earlier, right now, barrel, right? Maybe something that people don't think anything about. But barrel in Stanton and barrel in Nyx may be two different things, right? Or like you said, going into Pyro, right? So maybe I don't want to go into Pyro, but if the price for barrel is 3 times the amount it is in Stanton, even though I know that's the piracy, location, like you said, risk versus reward. That's going to be where I may have to make my money. Maybe I need that escort, or maybe other places, if I'm traveling, I don't need that escort. So you're absolutely right. This all is going to change. And it's fluid. This whole thing is going to be very fluid. Go ahead, fastcart.
Yeah, speaking of bottom line, Kim makes a good point. It's like you can either go out to where the materials that you need to find and mine it, or you can have someone else mine it and bring it to you, or you buy it off your auction house or whatever. Just short citizen version is going to be. But you have to figure all that in, the risk versus reward. Do I want to pay extra and buy it locally, or do I want to go out there and risk getting blown up and mine it myself? So that's definitely going to come into play.
Well, I got 2 points to throw in because we can't talk about them. I want to get to the next subject, but I will toss this in very quickly, and you guys can give me quick feedback. Orion, I want to say that first, and then CitizenCon last year, they were implied that they're working on a small refinery ship. So what do you think about those 2 ships? The Orion, from my understanding, is the one ship that can do everything. It can do the mining, it can take in multiple ores, and it can do refining. Where the refinery ship is supposed to maybe work in conjunction with people who are flying like a prospector and a mole. How do those people make money in that process? Because the Orion's like, that's like go out in space and stay out there forever, right? What do you all think about those 2 ships, the refining ship and the Orion? Just give us some quick feedback on those.
Orion is too big for one person to own. That's definitely an org ship. Sorry, Ted.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
So yeah, the Orion is definitely an org ship. There are people who have an Orion, who bought an Orion, and they don't have plans currently to how they're going to do everything by themselves. Some people believe that you can buy NPCs and do everything that way. So we don't know if that's actually viable yet or not. So but hopefully hopefully it'll work. It just won't work as well as how the real people do it. But for the other ship, the refinery, it'll be really helpful to if you're already in a fleet or org, and you have like if you don't have much money to buy an Orion, you could have the refinery ship and do it that way, and they have a cargo ship to store all the materials and stuff like that. So it's just more options, and more options is always good.
Absolutely. I want to give a special shout out to Defrost FX. Defrost, you are our first Prime subscriber. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Oh man.
And Major Massacre.
Defrost.
Major Massacre. Thanks for
17,
following.
sir.
Good to see you. What about that? Let's talk about that other refinery ship, the smaller one they're talking about. How is that going to integrate in with people who are using the Prospector or the Mole? Do you think there could be some type of contract deals they do, or what do you think about that?
Oh yeah.
Melvius, thanks for dropping in, buddy. Thanks for the follow. Any thoughts about that? Because, by the way, I will say this. If you guys remember at CitizenCon last year, that ship got the most applause out of the 4 that were suggested for ships that they were working on, was the mining ship. And that was kind of interesting, that mining took over the fighter. There was another mining ship that was like a ground mining ship that would dig, that was like a tractor, and I forget what the other one was. So what do you think about this?
You got to remember, there are so many fighters in game right now that you have to pick a fighter for industrial ships in particular. Those are more harder to come by or more specialized. So yeah, I can see why the mining ships got a bigger applause.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on from mining to another category here. So, Melvius, thanks. Number 2 on our Prime subscriptions. Oh my God, the
Wow.
stars are aligning. Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
I was talking when that happened the first time. I'm like, what is going on over there?
Yeah, we're not used to people subscribing. Sorry. Thank you. We
Exactly.
appreciate it. We appreciate
Wow.
it. We definitely appreciate it.
Wow. 07.
Transport. And the ship that you guys see under transport there is a ship that's also been around a long time. Crusader Industries, Genesis Starliner. Of course, transport can happen with any ship, right? But there are ships that are designated for moving people around, right? Any thoughts on that? Sergeant Six, thanks for the follow. Any thoughts
07
on
Sergeant Stagus.
you guys can talk about the
Can I get in this one?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Talk about it.
True story here. A coworker mentioned the fact that they detested ships. It was not their cup of tea. But when it came to FPS, they loved it. They were all in. And so, with that said, enter transport. Enter the blue. Oh my gosh, the blue liner, or what is it? The
the Genesis Starliner.
The Genesis Starliner, the blue ship, Genesis Starliner. But it was a segue for people to be able to. When you're talking about the fact that this person detested ships, didn't want anything to do with flying, that was not their cup of tea. They were all about saying, "Hey, I want to rent out my services as a FPS or security person, or I need to go to this planet, go to that planet, and rent out my services." And I'm sitting there puzzled, like, well, you get the package, you get the ship free, but it was just like, I don't want to fly a ship. And so it lends to that, but at the same time, the other element to the Genesis Starliner is the fact that it's going to transport your NPCs, but this is one of those situations where you get back on your feet. Now, granted, there's going to be situations with backers who lose pretty much just about everything, and this is a way that they can get around and travel when they can. If they have a catastrophic issue with their ship and they're waiting how many hours or days to get a ship, depending on its size. 07 Agent 12
Agent, thank you for the subscription.
Thank you for the sub.
Thank you.
You're going to be able to get to where you need to go to take on a mission, be it a planet side. So there's a need for this ship.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think what I'll say about it is I have a Starliner, and I was super interested in the gameplay surrounding it. I forget what the post was, but Kimmy, just you're saying you're transporting people, you're transporting, you're kind of setting up that business, and there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, you think about I think the post I was reading talked about licenses to open up, terminals at different areas, so that if you want to fly out of area 18, you're applying for the license to do transport out of there, or New Babbage, or anywhere else, and as I can imagine, Griff, you talking about earlier, the reputation. On the higher reputation you have, the more access you might get to these premium areas, where you're sitting right there, and your business name and whatever is sitting right there, and people can trust your name to transport them to wherever they want to go. But then so that's kind of the transport side of things. But Kimmy, kind of to what you were talking about with your coworker, there's an opportunity to have kind of U.S. Marshals, or Air Marshals,
Pastor
on
57.
Right.
We talked about this earlier, man. I'm sorry.
Right? Like, you have somebody just be on the ship and get paid to do it, to just make sure everything is secure. They talked on I believe it was Star Citizen Live maybe last week. They talked about it was level design, where they put all this stuff in there, like customs and things like that. where we haven't been using them yet. But once those things get in play, there's a lot of different options you can have. So I'm very much, the Starliner is low key one of those ships outside of all my other ships, like the other ships that I have, that I'm really looking forward to building some gameplay around as a business. Like my deal in the verse is to be more of a financier, like have different streams of revenue come through different areas of careers. So different careers. So having transport, obviously passenger transport with a ship like that would be really cool.
I just put a link in our chat box there. If you guys have never seen the original Genesis Starliner page introducing, it's one of the most elaborate pages that CIG put together. And if you want to know why transport is something that people would get excited about, I guarantee you, take a look at that link. It'll blow your mind. Tenth, you alluded to this. Transport, again, folks, remember, our universe is supposed to be 10 to 1. One of us and 10 of NPCs. Yes. So you may not feel like you're going to fly on a ship, but they're going to be NPCs that are going to be scheduled to depart. If you go to the spaceports right now, you will see there's areas that say commercial departures. Yep. That's going to be for people who have ships like the Starliner. They pull in there, they pick up 20, 30 people, however many it is. They've even alluded to on this page that depending on how well you treat those people and serve them on the ship, and if you get them there on time, that will impact your reputation. So this is a whole different mechanic. Wingbreaker, thank you for the follow. So, let me go back. Agent, again, thank you, Agent. I want to say that one more time for the 1 month subscription. So I'm mentioning this because, a lot of times we think about transport, we think about, we're just running people back and forth. It's much bigger than that. Yes, there will be human players that need to move around. You just said this earlier. Also, think about this. At some point, you will no longer be able to pull your ship up where you're at because your ship happens to be in another system or on another moon. Right. So you got a couple decisions. Go ahead, fastcart.
Or you're waiting for to come back from insurance.
Or coming back from insurance. Yeah, now you've got some options. Option is have a friend. Can a friend pick it up? Can an NPC do it? Do you have to wait on that, or do you just say, "Hey, I'll drop the 200 credits and get on this Starliner that's sitting here that's going to take me and drop me off at Hurston to pick up my ship. That's my nearest ship." We've gotten really used to this idea of going to a terminal and no matter where your ship is, you can pull it up. That is going to change. So transport is going to become a really major piece. One of the other things I want to touch on about the Starliner, for those of you who remember back, they showed us variations of the Starliner. There's a military version of it, a cargo version of it. There's the people and even a VIP version of the Starliner. And the Starliner is not the only ship that it's restricted to. People can take ships like the Phoenix. The Phoenix is often referred to as a VIP transport. Right. You can use that. 890 jump, you can use that. The 600i luxury, you can use that. So people who have these ships, people say, well, what do these ships got to do with being able to play? Here's the gameplay mechanic that's coming down the road that'll give people something to do.
Yeah, real quick. I like the look of the Genesis Starliner. I like the interior of the Phoenix that you touched on. It's like when I'm on my off time, like I don't know, I know maybe I'm manufacturing something. I know it's going to take a couple of hours. Maybe I'll jump into a Starliner or a Phoenix and transport people around and stuff like that. I love the interior of it. I love the looks of it. But I don't know how much time I actually spend in that particular gameplay. So that's why I haven't bought that ship yet.
Yeah,
that's key. FC, that you mentioned gameplay, and that's one thing they have not mentioned as far as the Genesis Starliner. So when I think of Starliner, I would think that the meta game would be about getting things, and I think 10th might have mentioned this, that getting to that destination on time. There may be timers associated with these waypoints that you have to hit within that time. And so I think the gameplay mechanic would be, if you exceed the expectation or you get there earlier, there's bonuses involved in that to get the workers there on time. If you're late all the time, your reputation is going to suffer. So they're going to get the next competitor to get them there on time. And so that can hurt your bottom line. Or you may have to go to another destination or another system to start that business to hit those waypoints to get those NPCs to where they need to go.
Reputation,
if I had to think of a gameplay mechanic for the Starliner, that would be it.
Now, real quick, they could also introduce missions. We have to escort a VIP passenger You can use a Starliner or a Phoenix to carry them back and forth.
Yeah, and in fact, you have to have a certain type of ship even to pick that person up and deliver them where they need to go. So, like you said, there's a lot of variation that they could go with. I want to go to the question sheet real quick because we got a couple of questions in here. One of them goes back to the construction. This is from Gaz. He asked, "What level of building will we be able to do when construction comes online?" And Gaz, as far as I remember, if you look at the design, Ekati X, thank you for the follow. If you look at the design of the Pioneer, it's designed where it has like a crane system inside of it with a catwalk, and it's designed to put bases that are similar to the ones that we see now. It lands, and then it basically places those bases in the ground and connects them. We've not really seen to what degree. In other words, are we talking about multi-level? Are we talking about being able to have literally custom designs on the HABs? They've alluded to that, but in the beginning, they're going to be modules that they're putting. Go ahead, Kimmy, what are you going to say?
Todd Pappy. Yeah, Todd Pappy, not so long ago, iterated a little on that, and that there are certain modules that are essential to allow you to sustain your life on those planets without atmosphere. You have a hydroponics room, you have radar. He did allude to some of these rooms that you would need essentially to start life on maybe the fringes or planets that are inhabitable. And I think at some point they're going to reiterate and build on that too. And I kind of think that at some point, once we get server meshing and we're really in the game, and then we're talking about spawning, I would imagine then you have the Pioneer will have the ability to create you a hangar. It would only make sense because if you're going to hail from a particular area and that's your homestead and you're going to spawn, it would make sense that they would probably bring in the hangar for your ships.
Right. It's a good option. You're right. We got one more question here. I think this question is directed to fastcart. It's from your good buddies at Relay, Shiver and Eris. They ask, how fast can fastcart cart?
I think it's Eris.
Is it Eris? Okay. How fast?
I think it's Eris.
Okay. How fast can fastcart cart if fastcart carts fast? That's your question. Feel free to give yourself a few minutes to think about it before you respond to him.
I've seen him in real time, man. He's fast. You better get the hell out of the way.
Oh God! All right.
He will clip your ankles, man.
Okay, we're cutting through this.
No, not ankle, just the toes.
Just the toes. All right, we're cutting through these pretty good. We got 2 more to go. Let's jump into cargo. And for those of you who are, I know there's some people out there who are using a Caterpillar and using a whole lot of different ships to do cargo. People are using the Starfarer. People are using Titans. People are using Cutlass Blacks. Whatever they can get their hands on. I've even got my buddy John Prophet, who uses a freaking reclaimer to haul cargo, which blows my mind, right? People use whatever's out there to haul cargo. But we do have some specialized ships that are designed for it, and particularly the Misk Hull series of ships, right? And we know that the Hull C has been pretty much completed. The ship itself is actually done. We've seen it. We've seen the interior. But we also know that they're working on a real issue with the grids and some other aspects of that ship that they've got to get together. So one of the things I want to throw to you guys is this. People see the Hull C. They look at the other ships as being ships that can take a punishment, pretty defensively, capable. But when people see the Hull, the first thing they say is, oh, they're vulnerable. Oh, people are just going to blow those up and take all their stuff. Any thoughts about that in relation to them?
2 words. Root pinata. That's what people say.
Oh my God.
So if these ships are so vulnerable, why are there 5 of them, right? And for some people, they're very popular. What's the deal with the Hull series to you guys as far as cargo goes?
Well, real quick, as far as I know, like I said before, there's one of us and 10 NPCs. A bunch of those NPCs are going to be using the Hull, especially the Hull C, because the Hull C probably, according to the lore, I think it's the most popular ship in the universe. So we'll be seeing a whole bunch of Hull C's going back and forth, what have you.
Right.
And also, it's like if you're in like maybe around the solar system or the Terra system, you may be reasonably safe. So you may not need a fleet escort or maybe a light escort to go back and forth with you using a hull. But when you get out to cash or someplace really unsafe, you're really gonna need a real fleet and a big fleet, and just to go to pick up and drop off stuff, depending on what hull you do, what hull you have. And I'm kicking myself because the whole seat used to be $200, but then it went up to $250. And I had a choice. I wasn't sure which one I wanted, but now I'm really kicking myself not getting a whole seat.
And the Hull C, as you mentioned earlier, fastcart, is going to be the most popular of the cargo ships that we're going to see in game that are run by NPCs. Kimmy, Tenth, either you guys own any Hull ships, or did you take a pass on the Hull series ships?
I took a pass on the hulls. Yeah, I had enough ships that I like. How much you mentioned earlier was I had enough ships that I think I could haul with. But I hadn't picked up the Hull C because I didn't really want to go down that road. I know that the Hull C will need even if you kind of put if you make it a little bit tanky or whatnot, you're still going to need a escort with that ship. I mean, it's just you need that, and that was kind of going down a field that I just wasn't really wanting to explore at the time, but it can be very lucrative. I mean, it's the next progression up. Like, how much can you sling? Like, what can you go from a Titan to like maybe a black to a caterpillar to a hull, or like what's the configuration, how you jump through this thing to get to that biggest this series of ships that are designed for hauling, so that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Real quick, quick question. There is a Hull B and a Hull A. The Hull B actually carries more than the freelancer, even though it's like it's a small fighter size. So they're all you can use those, and those may be more safer because it's a smaller target or like not as much to lose. So you may be safer in that respect.
Yeah. And before I jump in with Kimmy, one of the things that came out this last week, they were talking about, one of the questions that came up to the devs was, what was the progress on the Hull C? And they talked about the fact that, if I'm remembering correctly, right now, boxes are literally numbered 1-to-1. In other words, if you say there are 100 boxes, there's literally physically 100 boxes. And they said for the Hull C, that's not going to work because, as you guys know, the size of what they can carry can go into the tens of thousands. And you can't have tens of thousands of items attached to the ship. So what they're trying to do is convert it in some way so where one box maybe represents 50 or 100. And that's going to be the way they work with getting the grid and getting the amounts onto the ships. But let's say this. Anybody who's operating these ships, I think, that's a career that they want to do. It's not the ship that you just have on the side. Because, first of all, it's been mentioned in chat that using these ships, you definitely, especially if you're calling anything valuable, you want to have some type of escort. The other thing is that I don't see people necessarily attacking these ships as much as trying to disable them and take them, because to lose all of the valuable cargo would be kind of a joke, right? If somebody's hauling, whether it's food, whatever it is they're selling, these ships carry tremendous amounts. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of UEC, if not millions, on a couple of these. A Hull D, you guys know a Hull D is the biggest freaking ship almost in the game right now. If it were a Hull E, rather, if it were out, a Hull E is gigantic. You're talking about enough to feed a half of a freaking moon or planet. And would you just go out there and indiscriminately blow it up? No, I can see the next category, piracy, being the thing that happens on ships like that. And if you remember on the promo for the Hull C, they actually show a scene where people are trying to get into the ship, because the crew get their guns and line up down the hallways and prepare themselves to be boarded. Kimmy, give me some thoughts you got in relation to cargo or the hulls, either one.
Yeah, it's about that niche. It's a niche, right? It's about the gamers who are meta gamers. They grind. It's about the entrepreneurs of the game, and that's a special place for them, and and it's cool. It's a part of that universe. It's that distinction that makes it a whole, and it makes it feel alive. With that said, I think going into the layers, that this game has so many layers, I would hope that when you're talking about piracy and when it comes down to that bottom line, and whatever you have in that you're moving cargo wise with the MISC, they're gonna be intelligent about how they approach the whole situation. They're just not going to see, oh, there's a missed hull, I'm going to randomly blow it up. Yeah, that can happen. But when you were talking about pirates who have a purpose. They're going to scan, and if it based upon once we get physicalized objects, and maybe they're running something, or they're moving something that's not of value, right? And the pirate will say, well, it's not worth anything right now. I'm going to leave it alone. I don't need this. And it's not going to help them, basically.
Right.
So they'll move on, potentially. But it's basically the game mechanic is like a school of fish. As we get larger numbers, and you guys mentioned that school of fish and that sharks come in and say, okay, let me pick which one. Where is it? Oh yeah, that one's got the quantanium. Let's get that one. I mean, I'm just saying as an example.
Right.
So you're gonna make a run. You're gonna make those runs, but it's all about the meta game. And it's about these layers. Once Tony Z gets his hands on this stuff and really sets these values, and piracy, they really respect how the game is played and play it fully to its potential. You're going to get scanned. They're going to see what it's worth. If it's not worth the damn, they're going to leave it alone. You can go on about your business.
Yeah.
But what you alluded to earlier, Griff, was the fact. I did see something about SIG made a breakthrough. It was the issue with all these containers, and it was really killing the game frames. I mean, it was just really hard on the system.
Right.
So they increased the size of the cargoes and up the values of these particulars as far as the cargo components. And so that was their breakthrough to get the MISC hull closer to the reality of getting in our hands. So I cannot wait. Tony Z cannot wait. I cannot wait to see the MISC and these cargo lanes happening in the game. You know, I cannot wait to see that and how it plays in real time. But again, I'm with 10. Not my jam, but I want to see it.
Right.
You know, I want to see those cargo lanes.
Yeah, I for one can't wait to see, like, you know, how EVE Online, how they have all these articles about people losing billions of ISK or million dollars and when the ship explodes. Imagine something like that, but in Star Citizen, like someone carrying in a whole bunch of quantanium and a whole E or something like that, and it not get blown up or taken by pirates. Like I said before, Pinata. That's a lot of people will expect it to be.
Pinata.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take Sergeant Stakes here. He gave us a great transition phrase here. He says the best pirate is one that doesn't need to fire a shot. So we're going to go into piracy now.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people are looking forward to piracy. And I know we had a show a few weeks back where we talked about what it meant to be piracy or griefing or whatever else, right? But we want to really focus in on piracy as a career, right? People who literally, and I kind of agree with Sergeant Stakes in relation to this. When I was pirated in EVE, and I've told this story before, I was mining out in Lowsec. I was in some other guild's area, and I knew I was, but I was trying to be sneaky. And they basically overwhelmed me. They surrounded me. I had a lot of stuff on me at the time. And the guys basically surrounded me and said, hey, give us 15 million, you can go back home. You know, and I was like, wow, 15 million, dude, I'm a poor miner. I only got about 5-6 million on me. I had about 200 million, but you got to, you play the game. You got to play the game. Dude, I only got about 8 million on me. This is my first time coming out here. We haggled back and forth, and then he's like, no, that's not enough. I said, all right, I'll be honest with you. I really only got about 11 million on me, so blah, blah, blah. And then the guy said, okay. And I gave him the 11 million, and they said, all right, hit the dust, hit the bricks. And I turned around and got out of there. Now, mind you, I had a ton of money. But was it worth me losing my ship? Now, here's the deal. I didn't get mad. I honestly didn't get mad. Because you know what? I'm a big role player. I know some people aren't into role play at that level, but I'm a role player, and I knew what the risk was when I went in there, and they gave me an out. They gave me an out. And it was, listen, them guys would probably blow me out of the sky. But I went on ahead and played the game. And you know what? As pirates, they honored their thing. Now, there may be some pirates who don't honor their thing. They may still blow you out of the water. You pay them, and they still blow you out of the water. But that's a risk you take. But that's a risk.
Give me a chance.
But you know what? But see, to me, that's piracy. Because see, here's the deal with piracy. In my definition, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Piracy says that they're about making money. They want to make money, right?
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Timmy, they want to find out where the cargo lanes are, right? They want to find people who are maybe trying to evade the cargo lanes. Because here's the deal. If they start killing folks, they bring the heat on themselves because now they got to worry about the authorities showing up. And now that area that was lucrative for them no longer becomes lucrative and they have to move elsewhere, right? So, you know, that's in my interpretation of it. Now, mind you, yeah, I mean, there are going to be some people out there who just stone cold, no matter what, they may blow you out of the sky. But I think as people start to understand why value and money is important, because this, to Tony Z's point, which you mentioned earlier, Kimmy, Tony Z said that when piracy starts to happen in a certain area, you're going to start seeing the prices of stuff go up. Resources are going to start costing more money. When you want to get your ship repaired or get resources to fix a ship, it's going to cost more money because if those raw materials can't get through, like any economy, the prices go up. So now that lane becomes no longer a good thing anymore. So the thing I like about it with piracy is that there is a give and take. There is a risk versus reward. There is a pro and con to keeping an economic engine going, not just to satisfy the egos of people who just want to go out and destroy everything. And I know I'm always hard on folks that like doing that. I don't mean to be hard on folks that like doing that, but I want to have some balance in the game so it just doesn't become that. So you guys give me some thoughts on piracy.
My thing on piracy is, I'm not interested in doing piracy. I understand that there is a whole kind of, it's a whole market, it's a whole career that you could very easily tap into, or know somebody who could tap into it, where you could, form some alliances. Say, you're about to go skating through Pyro for some reason, trying to get to somewhere else, and some pirates got a stranglehold. It's in my estimation of how I want to play the game, it's about making some of those high level connections and saying we saying at a board meeting, saying we need to get through Pyro, and that's where you leave it, and you kind of work the connections that you might have. But I was thinking, kind of going back to we talked about the different tools available to a pirate. You think we haven't talked about the Mantis yet, and how, like, originally, that ship being used for interdiction and, by the Navy to say, to catch pirates or to pull people out of Quantum, or even used by bounty hunters. Same thing for every ship in the game. A pirate can use that same ship for nefarious acts, right? To do their career. So, every person who buys a ship is going to be looking at it from a different perspective. What can I actually do with this? And that's what I'm intrigued about, how this game has formed and how I think the balance will come into the game when we start seeing the ability to board ships, and do stealth, that kind of thing. And Griff, that's exactly right, man. That situation is a lot of fun. You're saying, pirates come, so they surround you and they squeeze you and they say, yo, give us what you're going to give us. And if you can't, then, we got some other options for you. But essentially, I would love to interact. It would be cool to interact with pirates who just aren't focused on blowing people up. Like, I'm just gonna go to the next system and blow somebody, to smithereens because I'm a griefer, right? I think there's a very real difference between griefing somebody and being an actual, like, pirate role player in the game. And I think for those who will embrace that side as a career, it's going to bring a ton of different, like, it's going to bring a real flair to the game. So I don't personally do it, but it would be cool to see how it comes up.
Okay. Kimmy?
Well, it's all about location. And I think right now where we see it's kind of like it's one-dimensional. But once we open up and have these different locations to exist as a pirate, then you're talking about having that career. And I think the prison systems is basically a statement to say that let's not get too crazy with it. Keep a level head about how you're going to go about being a pirate, because you have various depths of being a pirate, from Han Solo to the old series Black Sails, actual pirates, where it's about the bottom line. It's about, they mentioned shipjackers. It's about go after the money, go after the cargo, don't go after a life. And so the prisons are there to say, we want you to take an intelligent approach to the piracy gameplay, where even the lore itself talked about, remember the 3 kids who were most part they were orphans, and they came together and became this huge syndicate. And so basically, it's basically telling the story that they went about things in a stealthy way. They went about things not being bold and being murderers out front. They were doing things undercover, out, low key. And that's the premise of what being a pirate is about in the persistent universe. It's about how you do things. It's having a certain respect to things. But I think once we get more systems, more areas for people to rest their head and to have a reputation and to build out that gameplay mechanic, it shouldn't be about the killing aspect of being a pirate. It's about, making a living and being comfortable where you are, because you have a haven to go to. So it's a cool dynamic. And as Tenth said, there's that balance and those choices. And sometimes we may be choice to that we may not have a choice but to go into those darker gray areas to appease our bottom line. We may be forced to do a little shady stuff.
That's a good point. No, great point. Great point. Dr. Mysteria, thank you for the follow. Fastcart, you're a lover. You're a lover, not a fighter.
Give a shout out.
Thanks for the follow.
Shout out to my wife, guys. That's my wife, Dr. Mysterio.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Whoa. We are honored tonight. Holy smoke. Okay. All right.
Shout out.
Fastcart, anything about piracy? Are you okay?
Wow.
We covered
Awesome
we
support.
covered we covered a lot of this stuff a couple of weeks ago on our show about PvP, and I'm still trying to to this day I'm trying to wrap my head around a marauder. You remember the definition?
Yeah, he said marauders are basically people that could be like almost like hired mercenaries, where they may go in and attack an area just to go in and strip it, right? But the difference is that they go in unannounced and they wipe everybody out. There's a plan for why they go there. It's not just indiscriminate. Like, for example, they may hear of a drug house, right, that's got something going on there and they're cooking, or they hear that some org is coming to pick up something there. These guys are not coming in to negotiate. They're coming in to hit it hard, take whatever they can take, and they'll wipe out whoever is there. So that was the difference in a marauder, where a pirate rather, comes in with the thing of saying, we don't care about you, we want what you got. I think Sergeant Stake said something earlier too. He said that it becomes important that pirates make more money than what it costs them to do their action. That's another factor too, right? Because they want to make money, they want to make profit, they don't want to lose money on a venture. So here with piracy, if I'm coming in and stealing your stuff and you turning it over to me, you've reduced my level of infraction against law enforcement, right? But if I come in and start killing people,
good point.
Now we have started raising my level of being wanted, and it changes a different dynamic of how you play the game. So that was how they broke down the difference between those two. Something similar to that.
So, like you said, like I don't intend to engage in that kind of gameplay, but it's just when I thought I knew there was nothing. I knew everything, not knew everything, but it couldn't get worse for me potentially. I got to worry about marauders now. In addition to pirate. Come on now.
Yeah. Martian Marine.
Bottom line, man.
Martian Marine, you ask, are these current available factions? They're not factions. What we're really dealing with is talking about what are career paths that people can take. Don't forget that Star Citizen is a sandbox, right? It's open, and these are things that people can create within the game. Yes. These are just kind of the popular categories that play in a lot of other games. So, there may be a group of people, like we do have orgs that are made up of nothing but pirates. We have orgs of nothing but medical people. So there may be people who decide to create an org of mercenaries. Haulers, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So that's kind of where that comes from. Okay.
And also, it's important to know that these 9 that we have on the screen are not the only opportunity or career that you can engage in. You can make up your own.
Absolutely. We didn't mention anything here about trade, for example. There's a whole lot of other things that we could have gotten into, but we just want to hit a few of these to give us some stimulating our brains a little bit here.
Can I say one more thing, Griff, before we move on to our next thing here? I think one thing I just want to say real quick, guys, as you consider all these careers and your career inside the verse, you have to look at yourself. Yo, Ops Chief, 07's man, thank you.
Ops Chief is my former boss, so if he's giving us money, that means we're doing okay. We're doing okay if he's giving us money. Thank you, Ops Chief.
But one thing I was going to say was that you have to consider yourself, whether you're bounty hunting or you're doing construction or you're transporting, you have to consider yourself as a business, right? Like whatever you choose to do, you got to look at it in terms of how am I going to make a profit doing it. Kimmy referred to it. Griff FC said it throughout the conversation in this portion that the bottom line is important when it comes down to it. You have, we're talking about it today, show me the money. To be able to buy and sell inside of the verse, you have to be able to be focused in what you want to do. So by all means explore these things. I think CIG wants you to try your hand at every one of them, especially during this testing phase. But as you get down, as we move closer towards release, it becomes important to say, okay, this is how I'm going to make money in the verse. This is how I'm going to do it. This is just fun for me. And this is how I'm going to set myself up for growth. And you want to do that. You want to think about yourself as a business. And you also want to join up with people that are like-minded, so that you can get and do some of the bigger things. Star Citizen is designed for people to play together, so I just say that piece. The careers are both solo and more focused on group gameplay. In this past Star Citizen Live this past week, they reiterated that point. If you're going to have a big capital ship like a Javelin or a Polaris or anything like that, where it's multi-crew, it's going to be Kimmy, it's going to be a lot of money to keep up with that, so you want to make sure that you're kind of offsetting that with some org, with org play. So I don't Griff, I just wanted to say that because I know these are really cool careers and it's really cool for people to get involved, but it's also really good to be focused in how you want to approach it.
Good points. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, gang, we are getting ready to make a transition here. We're going to take a quick look at a video, and some of you saw this. There was a teaser, and then there was a teaser trailer that CIG put out last week because we went into Invictus. Many of you guys know this year Star Citizen has been canceled this year because of what's going on in our country and around the world. But in the meantime, they are still doing things to promote the game, obviously. And we personally have talked about this on Soul Citizens. We think they're going to do a couple different things. Normally, we would have been just waiting maybe for a couple concept sales and then maybe, the anniversary sale. But obviously, Invictus 2950 is a big deal. So let's take a quick look at the preview for it.
The time has come. To embark on another bold adventure. To face dangers, new and old. We feel your deeds far and wide.
Everybody with me? Let's give them a show.
When you finally stand victorious,
Ouch, that's interesting.
We will stand
There we go.
beside you, united in purpose.
Well, sorry about that video glitch, gang, but boom, if you hadn't seen the longer trailer, that was the longer one. There was a shorter one that they did before Invictus started. Invictus, as you guys know, is 2950 for this year. It's the first time we've ever done this, and it has an emphasis on the UEE military. And basically what's being highlighted over the next week are ships that are utilized within their Navy, the UEE Navy. We're seeing ships that are already currently in game, as well as ships that are in production in the game, but they have a military feel to them. The bulk of them do. So there are a few other ones that are support, but in general, it's used as a recruitment tool to get people to sign up for the UEE Navy. What do you guys think about this promo? Let's talk about the Invictus promo, because we're going to get into our next subject, gang, which Show Me the Money, is about people who are spending money on Star Citizen. So any thoughts on Invictus, the concept, the idea they came up with?
I love that ship. I love the F8 Lightning to that color. I want it. I really want it.
Yeah, well, just spend a
But
few.
I can't wait to get it.
Spend a few more thousand, and you can get one now. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's like I'm going to say something a little controversial. Is that if I can get my hand on an Up8 Lightning, I probably won't need my Super Hornet or any other fighting ship that I currently own, because the F8 Lightning is so OP. It'll be the only thing I need, or maybe I need more than one. But other than that, yeah.
Tenth, you were grinning when I asked about Invictus. What was on your mind?
Well, Invictus, I think a lot of people are still going to say it's a scam, because we call it Invictus Week, but it's May 22nd to June 2nd. That's
Right.
longer than a week.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, a lot of people are going to be nitpicking and stuff like that. But it could be that maybe it's not based on Earth. Maybe it's a week on a different planet.
Okay.
But as far as the stuff, I love the celebration. It took me a while. I spent 6 hours in the game. This is the longest I've been in game since January, probably. But I checked out the fleet. I checked out the touring and everything, the pirates and everything. It was really great in game. I checked out the expo hall yesterday, and not yesterday, but Friday and today. And I got into it and got into the F8 Lightning at the expo hall. Some people were saying that once you get in, you can't get out. But I managed to get out. But maybe your mileage may vary. But nothing worked in the F8 Lightning and in the expo hall. But it still looks great. It still looks great.
Okay, cool. Tenth, what about you? What about the Invictus? What's your thoughts on it?
I love it. I think it's a great. Well, given the climate, right, global climate, and not being able to have the con this year, doing something right now was pretty cool. And for them to kind of pull this piece together to say, let's do a fleet week, I think that was a very genius move. And then to actually have a sale on top of that is pretty cool. I think in terms of the lore, I was at the expo the other day, just kind of looking through the progression of how the UEE started doing these things and transporting people, and then having recruits transport themselves to the training base, and then getting all the way to where we're at right now. It shows how committed they are to the Navy, how much of the society revolves around the Navy, and then being able to see how these different ship manufacturers play into that. One thing I'm going to note is that for the first time ever, the UEE has bought from Origin the Land Rovers. First time ever, right?
Yes.
So everybody who's always, talking about, hey, Origin's, squishy and no one likes it. There's a little bit of utility to my ships now. So yeah.
Yeah, we should ask how many Tumbro owners bought an Origin. That's what we should be asking right about now, but we won't go there.
But by and large, great thing. And you gotta, if you haven't chat and you haven't jumped in game, you have to go check the expo out. It's really cool, really well done.
Old Nugget, old Linux gamer? Oh, you're speaking blasphemy out here. I'm going to let you get away with that one, though. He said the only good thing that came with the G12 is the LTI.
He's always trolling.
I love it.
He follows me personally. He's a groupie, guys.
I love it. That's too funny. Kimmy, let me throw a question at you. The big highlight from this trailer, everybody talked about. There was a lot of stuff they showed, right? They showed a lot of stuff in these trailers. But the F8 was that created the buzz. What's the scoop with that?
Oh, definitely. F8, and I played a lot of old school games, and I spoke with the other night. As you know, Griff, we were speaking with Cosmic Trader the other night, and the subject came up where he mentioned the F-18, and it's basically the real time. Carrier. It's a smaller ship that fits onto the carrier. If any of you don't recognize or remember it, think of Independence Day, the ships that Will Smith was flying around. That was an F-18 Hornet. It's a smaller footprints type of ship, and Cosmic Trader mentioned that. But to me, it really resonated as the F-22 fighter, the vector
Yep.
throttle, vectoring thrusters, and the whole body. It just screamed F-22 to me. But yeah, it's a beefy ship. It's state of the art, and that was what the F-22 was prior to them coming up, the military coming up with the F-35. It screams F-22 to me. Yeah, it's one of those ships that they've already said it. Sig has said it's that extra cherry on the top. If you accomplish and finish Squadron 42 at a certain level, you're going to get it. But then also it segues over to backers who did a certain amount, they get it too. And we know that. But I want to answer Cosmic Trader. I got to answer him. He mentioned exploration, and I'm going to just chop it up real quick. It's only a career or profitable if you keep it to yourself. You discover what needs to be discovered and you hold it to yourself, and you sell those artifacts, whatever they are, alien and whatnot, until someone else comes and then gives it to the UEE to be discovered. But you have the opportunity to then make money of something undiscovered as far as exploration. So he shouted that out. I had to answer him. It's done. But now going back to Invictus, and I'm going to make this short. To me, I'm ex-military. So is Cosmic Trader. We were both in the Navy. And it was just cool to see the UEE Navy incorporated in this. And granted, keep in mind, Chris is born, he was bred in the UK, Manchester, but he lived most of his life here in Austin. And he knows things. And when I say that, it resonates to Memorial Day. And then I said this on one of my shows. I talked about this the other day. Is freedom is not free. There's a sacrifice. There's things you have to do to step forward to ensure other people are free. So it resonates to Memorial Day with me. And when we segue Invictus Week, Memorial Day, military service into the narrative of what this show is all about, careers, military, and what the rhetoric I've been hearing a lot about as far as backers who buy into these fighter ships and they're into the military style, and it's like, oh, it's going to cost you this. Oh, you're going to run that Idris. It's going to cost you that. It's going to be. But what I'm beginning to see now is that is a career itself. Military is a career. There are career military people. Now, when we look at the outskirts of the Vandal, we see these areas where they have taken over systems. There could be a career in the fact that they can take those Idrises, those Polarises out there and do these military missions on the fringes to mitigate and push back the Vandal. And there's a payday for that, because they're becoming the sword or the right arm for the UEE in that sense of these different missions. You may have a group or squad members who are Terrapin players who will use that recon, those radar, to actually see what's going on in Vandal area and communicate that back to their squadrons and say, let's hit them now.
Right.
You have that gameplay mechanic, military career that can pay out in itself in the narrative of what we're talking about. And the fact that they're actively, to this day, the lore team is still talking about them taking systems and raiding, and to this day, to modern day, after the fact of Squadron 42. So they are there. They are an apparent threat. They have systems that they've taken. So you have to take the fight to them. And then if you're going to go live on the fringes, you need those military ships to keep that threat from coming after you. And if it goes down as far as gameplay, if they fail, then get ready for your system to be taken.
Well, let's talk about this, because you're mentioning about
don't put your uniform back on.
Yeah.
No, go put your uniform back on.
07, sir.
So to your point about the importance of the military, I mean, do you guys feel that the Invictus piece is a transition for us to start thinking about Squadron 42? That it's more than just a sale. That there is some dynamic of starting to point us toward, the tie-in between the Star Citizen universe and the standalone game.
Not a coincidence.
No question. Yeah.
You had that. What is that? The Pegasus? Was it the Pegasus or the Polaris?
As far as what?
That was in
What are you
orbit
asking?
at the space dry
No,
dock.
no. At the what they show at the beginning of the initial trailer, and this was the thing that was interesting, and I'll tell you a rumor that we heard. Whether this happens or not, I don't know. But when the trailer first opens, when you see the F8, you see the F8s come out of the mouth of the Bengal carrier. So there's a Bengal carrier there, there's a Javelin there, and there's an Idris there. Right?
Cosmic Trader mentioned that
And
in the background.
and in fact, let's take a quick look at something real quick. This is the footage that is from Celebration. I shot this the other day. This is over Bikini Point. You can see there, I think that there's 3 docking ports there. You guys know this already. It's 3 security docking points that they've added to the station. Yep. These docking stations are huge. If you guys haven't been there, you need to go. 2 of those docking ports are for Idrises, because there are 2 Idrises that arrive. And then after that, a Javelin arrives. And as you can see in the video, there's fireworks. There's a big celebration thing when these ships pull in to dock. And again, obviously there's this big propaganda piece here for the UEE and for their Navy. Let's shift to this real quick, because this tying into the sale. Over the first 2 days, Friday and Saturday, there was a sale for Origin, RSI, and Tumbrel. For today and tomorrow, it will be Anvil, which is one of the large military corporations, manufacturers. And then Aegis is going to be the 2 days after that, which is the other large one. Let's talk about what people are... How do you guys feel about this? When these things come up, are you thinking about... Because I know a lot of people in my organization were like, what can I melt? All last week before this thing started, people were talking about what can I melt? They haven't even seen prices. They hadn't seen what's going to be on sale. They were already preparing. Are you in a space now where you're still melting and refining your ships? Or are you at a space where if I see something I like it, I buy it? Or are you at the place where, hey, my wallet's closed at this point, unless it's something stupendous? I mean, where are you guys at right now with your spending?
For me, I reached a certain plateau. I'm a web concierge. I don't want to say how much above I am, but I am a web concierge, and I'm like, I don't want to spend any more on ships. I'll buy tickets for events like Citizen Con and stuff like that, and bar citizens and stuff like that. But as far as ships go, I'm trying to stay where I am. So if I see something that I want, I'll either CC you to it, or I'll melt something up, something that's really low priority, and try to get it instead. It has to be something really special for me in order for me to do that. As far as buying a new ship, it's got to be something really special. I don't know what it could be that would make me put more money into it. Like I reached a certain plateau. I just want to stay there right for now.
Okay, Kimmy, what about you?
I am an LTI grabbing SOB. I will do whatever I can to compile these affordable LTIs to say, okay, Sig, if you're gonna give me, or you're gonna dangle that carrot and I can't resist, I'm gonna compile as many LTI tokens as I can to try and get there, to more than halfway get there, to get that particular ship.
So any opportunity you have to buy a token, you're saying if there's an opportunity, like today, for example, the G12, right? You're saying anytime opportunities like that come up, you automatically try to take advantage of them?
You grab it, man.
Okay.
You grab it, you hold on to it, and if it's, and like Fastcart said, he don't want to do it, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But damn it, I gotta have it. When you see it.
No. Let's call the therapist.
Token,
you need therapists.
Use that damn token.
We got to get Kimmy a therapist, y'all. He needs a therapist at this point.
Hey, I'm not by
he's
myself.
Committed.
Anybody?
I know you're not. You're not. No, you're not. I'll give you that.
They're not doing this.
I got you. 10th. What about you? Are you there?
I'm pretty set. I made it to to me, even when I started the journey from buying to getting the concierge, it was all about me getting the ships that I wanted, and the ships that made sense for me in the game, right? Kind of just going through what the spirit of the offering was, right? Now, that's not to deny, what Kimmy was saying, and a whole bunch of other people, like, get some of them tokens, stack them up, and then buy what you love. That's a strategy. That for me, it's just hey, once it's on sale, if I have an LTI token, I'm going to upgrade it. If not, I'm going to get it because I want it, right? And at this point, my fleet is pretty set. Maybe save for, I always have room for Origin, obviously. But you save room for instance, we didn't know about the Ares, right? We didn't know about the Mole. We didn't know about all these kind of things that kind of dropped, and you didn't. You had all these inklings, but when they did drop, you're like, you know what, that fits. And for me, what fits in my fleet is any ship that's going to aid in the revenue channels that I am seeking to build up in the game, right? So for me, I have all those right now. I have my fun ships, I have my workhorse ships, and that's kind of where I'm leaving it. And if something pops up that's opportunistic, I think all of us here are opportunists, especially really everybody who's playing Star Citizen is kind of in that boat right now, right? Like this is a great opportunity to jump in on something early that's going to be change the game, change the landscape of gaming in the future. This is I'll pick it up. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't. Instigator says you still need to get your executive F8. I'm not there yet. But, I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Wow, yeah, for real.
We caught it when you said I'm good right now.
Yeah. I showed the hand a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I will say this on my part. I never thought I would reach concierge. I was not aspiring to it. I didn't think it would happen. And then lo and behold, I'm like a few whatever from it, and I crossed that line. And when I crossed that line, I was like, okay, that's good. I'm cool. And then just recently, I looked and saw that I'm about 1,500 short of the next line. And I'm trying to tell myself, I'm not going there. There's no way I'm going to do it. But I keep telling myself, if there's another year, yes, let's say Wazupo, Peter 17, and the Big Moose. Thank you guys for the follow. I am telling myself that if we go another year, Invincible Soldier, thank you for the follow. That if it's another year, I might end up hitting that number. I'm kind of spooked about it. I'm like you to a certain degree, fastcart. It's got to be something really, really amazing for me to get it at this point. I pretty much feel that I wish Seer was here because he does the whole fix my fleet thing. I feel like I've honed my fleet to the place where the careers I want are accessible to me. I think I told you guys about a year ago, my buddy Ops Chief hooked me up and made me rethink my structure of what I had. And he said, Griff, I think that based on what ships you have, if you go look at the packages, you may find that you can save some money. I ended up doing a huge melt of a bunch of ships, saved like almost $300 just because I melted and bought them in packages. And so ever since I've done that, I've been pretty content with most of what I've got. I think. And the other thing I did was anything that was less than $300, I melted it. And I basically told myself I'll work for those ships in game. And there were a lot of ships I really like, my Vulcan, Vulture, things like that. I got rid of all that stuff and said that it's easier to work for that than it is to work for the stuff that costs more than $300 in the game. So that was kind of the way I spun things around with those type of ships. I think the only thing I have that's less than $300 is a freaking Aurora LX. And that's because it's luxury in my luxury account. So that's it. Other than that, everything else less than $300, I don't own anymore. It's all in melt. Go ahead, fastcart.
See, I only have two ships that are more than $300. So if I'm not everything under $300, I won't have anything basically. But I will revise my answer a little bit. I have 4 speeders. I have a Nox. I have a yellow Dragonfly, the special Dragonfly, and 2 of the Rangers, the 2 motorcycles. But I bought the 3-pack, so that's how I got the Rangers. So I am thinking about converting. Those are all LGIs. So I'm thinking about converting some of those into ships or something like that. But with the sale, I bought a CCU upgrade from a Mustang Gamma to the G12 and a Gamma to a G12R, the racing variant. So I don't know what I will apply that to. I don't have a Gamma yet, but it's always on sale. I don't have to worry about getting it right now in order to CCU from it.
Okay. Let me ask all three. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Also, I've been meaning to get a Gladiator because when I first got the game, I didn't know if I wanted a Gladiator, a Super Hornet, or a Freelancer MIS because I'm big on missile.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a Gladiator upgrade. I haven't applied it yet, but I have it if I choose to use it.
Okay, nice,
Wow.
nice.
Fastcart is a curious buyer. He wants to see variations, and if it fits his fancy, he's gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
10th is about unique situations. Is it gonna work for his bottom line? Hell yeah, he's gonna get it. Ed Griff, any damn thing is an origin, you're gonna get it.
Yes,
so you
that's
ain't
right.
fooling me.
That's probably true. I want to ask you guys one quick question, then we're going to talk about the video we're looking at, because I do want to talk about what we see at the celebration. And here's the question to each one of you guys. Do you have anything in your melt, something that you've melted in your buyback, that you actually will probably go back and pull out before we can no longer do that? Is there anything in there that you're willing to spend money on? Because in order to get that stuff out, there's no credit. You got to spend fresh cash.
No, you can use token.
Oh, a token. Okay, I'm sorry. You can use a token. But let's, barring that, is there anything that you have that you're willing to go in and spend and get and pull out of melt?
I'm gonna pull the Phoenix out.
You're gonna pull your Phoenix out?
Yep.
You have your Phoenix in melt?
My Phoenix is in melt. Yep.
Mine too.
I'm ashamed to say it, but it is in the melt.
Oh my goodness.
Mine too.
Mr. Luxury's Phoenix is in melt. Okay, I do have something in melt, and I know people are going to laugh when I say this. I have a Banu Merchantman at the original price in melt.
Oh man!
Wow! How dare you?
In melt, it's sitting there, and I'll get it out eventually. That's how I keep feeling like it. I'll get it out eventually. Yeah.
Colossal lost all his packs.
Wow.
Kimmy, you got anything in your buyback that you would go and pull out?
It's so, you guys might look at it and say it's so insignificant, but damn it, I want my LN back, man.
No, okay. The Legionnaire?
I
Heck
want it
yeah.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic. That's, of all the Auroras, that's the classic one to get. I ain't
Yeah.
mad at you for that. I'm not mad at you.
I want it back.
Yeah. Fastcart, what about
Yeah.
you? Anything in melt?
In my buyback, the only thing that give me pause when I look at my buyback, I have a Phoenix, but it's their 48-month one. They offer the 120 a month now, so I'm like, between the two, you definitely get the 120 month. But so that gave me pause. But I also have a special token. It's a OG Super Hornet token that you go from the regular Hornet to a Super Hornet, but it's only $55 instead of being $70 because it's still at the low price. So,
Okay.
That gave me pause too. But if I ever want to upgrade to something else, I can use that token and save $15 on it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Offense or defense.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're looking at the... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we're
go
looking
ahead.
at the video right now. I want to kind of talk and focus in on this. For most of us, we've had an opportunity to go and see the capital ships. This is the first time we've actually been able to see capital ships in game. We've seen video of them in the past. We've seen the trailers for them in the past. Commander Reaper, thank you for the follow. But this is the first time we're actually get up close and personal. Can't go into the interiors. Folks have glitched into them. They will tell you that. But you can literally see these ships. Kimmy, let me start with you. First impressions when you saw the Javelin and the Idrises.
Tech has come so far. Get ready for Squadron 42. You go back to the days of Citizen Con, you will see one Idris drop down. And it was just a demo, and the frames were being hit hard.
Right.
3 capital ships, Pegasus, right? And 2 Idrises.
Javelin.
And then there were like 4 to 5 other ships flying around. No drops in frames. Able to scale up to it, see it in its full glory. And it said to me, what are we talking about here? I mean, what SIG is putting this thing together, man. And for the fact that they're not really talking about Squadron 42, this was a good segue to say Squadron 42 is coming along without alluding to giving you too much information on it, and which I applaud them for. I want to have the allure of discovery, shock, surprise. I want all of that. I don't want Squadron 42 to go the way of these Hollywood trailers that you pretty much know the premise of the entire story and you're going to have your opinion set because you already know what's going to happen. So great segue. Tech is coming along. And if you look at, and it's to your point, Griff, they talked about it's only the exterior. Consider it this way. That's the object container streaming on the outside. You see everything you need to see on the outside, and it's giving us what we need to see as far as the tech.
Absolutely. I was personally impressed with the fact that they scripted these ships to come in with escorts. If you look on the docking pad, you guys see there are F8s there. There's a Hornet there. They come in formation. They break off formation, and when they depart, they do the same thing. This was giving us a taste of what it will be like for the scripted or even AI type of dynamics that can come into the game later on. For me, I was literally blown away. The Idris was big, and it's always been considered big to me. But when I saw the Javelin, it was like stupidly big. The guns. I mean, I don't even know what I don't even know what level guns those are on that thing. I mean, whatever they are, they're off the meter of anything we know. Yeah, they're huge. Yes. And a funny thing that happened was when I went to look at the Javelin, I decided to go EVA out to it, and I didn't know the time frame of how long it was there. So I'm alongside this thing, and you know, you're EVAing, and next thing you know, this thing starts to depart. So I'm seeing my screen start to turn, and I'm like, what's going on with my jetpack? You know, it freaked me out so badly, and it dawned on me, this thing is pulling out, you know, and I got out of there. You know, Colossal told us that earlier there were people who tried to block the thing, and they blew them out of the sky. People that were trying to block it as it was coming in. So I wish I could have seen that. That would have been great. But let me share this other piece of history for those of you who were around for a long time ago. Do you guys remember when we first got the Starfarer in game, when you spawned that sucker at Port Olisar, it shut everything down. No matter where you were in the game, your frame rates dropped. You could have been freaking at Levski. Your frame rates went out the window. Sometimes the whole server would die. So to Kimmy's point, the fact that you're able to spawn 2 Idrises and a Javelin. Now, mind you, we understand that everything isn't inside of them. People who have been inside said there are parts of the ships that are completed, that have been done. But just the fact that we can do this now, and as you mentioned, no frame rate loss. Not only were those ships there, not only were there about 8 F8s and Hornets, you had players there. You had 890s there. Yes. People observing. You had the particle effects of the fireworks going off. There's a whole lot that has showed that this tech over the last 3 years has jumped leaps and bounds in what we're seeing right now. Crazy Makers, thank you for the subscription. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody want to toss in Fastcart? What about you? What was your impression when you saw all this stuff out here?
You know, I try to make jokes. I'm the funny guy. I just got to think that thing was just huge and long. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. We won't even go anywhere with that one this week. Soul D, and thank you for the follow.
But more seriously, I do like it. I went to Brakeland, that station, and checked out the fireworks and checked out the Javelin and stuff like that. I didn't get a chance to really get a good look at the F8, but I saw one in the expo, like I said. But it's impressive. The guns alone, like you said, you can't really tell by looking at it what size it is. I want to say it's size 12. You can't imagine something not being a size 12 and it's that size, but it's probably not. But it is so big. It's really impressive. Like I know people who say they own one. I'm like, what are you going to do with a ship that big? And I know people say it's for the org mates and everything like that, but I'm really like, how many friends do you have? Do you have enough people to fly that? Buy that stuff. It's so huge. It just blows my mind.
It is.
It's really impressive. Like you can see it on the video and be impressed, but when you see it in game for yourself and you see it in your own computer running it, it's something else.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Don't let the videos fool you, gang. You really have to see it in game. It is truly mind blowing.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, Sigma. Any thoughts when you saw all this stuff?
Yeah, it was. We went over there and we were there when the ship was already docked, so I need to get back into the game to see it come in dock. But we got to see, like, this thing is massive. It's just massive. I mean, it's just, you kind of think about all the stuff that you'll be able to do with this ship, and the crew that you can have on it, and just the, like, how you'll kit entire, like, you're like, for orgs, like how you'll build an org around, you know, these javelins, you know. So I loved it, man. It was really cool to see, and it really gave you some, like Kimmy, you were saying, there's no doubt about Squadron 42 progressing. I think there have been some questions now because of Invictus on some of this in the Spectrum about when are you going to have the next Squadron 42 update video? Like, when is that going to happen? You know, so we could be seeing some things rolling here pretty soon.
Very, very good point. And by the way,
guys,
just so you, real quick, let me drop this in real quick. Thank you, Ops Chief, for letting us know we hit 50 viewers for the first time tonight, guys. Thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you. And we are only one follower away for our month goal of 150. So if anybody out there's feeling good and they haven't followed us, hey, follow us and we'll hit our 150. And that'll be 2 landmarks in the same night. Ah, there it is. Thank you. Heavy Bob. Heavy Bob. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And Square 2 and Chip. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. We really, really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we're getting all this great stuff. Thank you guys for the follow. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. Heavy Bob 07 TV, baby.
It's a train now. Thank you.
Yeah, standard dev.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I didn't see that flashed up.
You guys are making a great. Oh my God. There's another
Chip
subscription.
7.
Thank you. Colossal.
Computer
Thank you.
World,
Oh,
baby.
you guys are making a great night for us. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, guys.
Landmark night. Thank you guys so much.
TenthSigma.
We're hitting 10thsigma. You're
that
nuts.
guy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Is
Oh my
infection?
God,
Is it
guys.
infectious? Is that what it is?
This is humbling, man.
This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
really.
humbling. Oh my God.
You know you've done something when I'm speechless. It's really hard to make me speechless. You guys have done it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna hit on our last. Oh my God, somebody else subscribing. Thank you guys again following. Thank you.
_TTV.
Oh boy. Okay.
Thanks for the sub.
So listen,
guys,
we got to
I
move
wanted
to.
to mention this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know let's move on, but I want to mention this thing. The thing with the plaque. The thing. Oh my gosh, Saint Tozen. Thanks for the sub. The aspect of getting recognized as a reputation, having your reputation recognized by SIG, and what fastcart's J2 Smiling Viking, thanks for the sub. What fastcart mentioned is that how in the heck are you going to operate? It's no way in HE double hockey stick. Shogun Prop, thanks for the sub.
Thank you, Shogun.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, thank you.
No
guys.
way that
Jeez.
Chris is going to leave these guys hanging who subscribe to these military ships. There's going to be mission givers. There are going to be sacrifices. As I said, freedom is not free. Standard deviation. Thank you for the sub.
Thanks, Standard.
There's going to be sacrifices made. And on the military aspect of this game, Colossal 06, thanks for the sub. Chris,
I think they're trying to tell you to be quiet, Kimmy, because they're just throwing money in until you stop talking. So keep talking, and maybe you'll get them. Maybe they'll happen.
Look, Chris is not going to leave these military guys hanging. No way in HE hockey stick. We have those Vandal areas. You have those fringes. They are going to go. They're going to protect. Peter 1765. Thanks for the sub. 07 to you. They are going to hold the line. They are going to be the first defense. They are going to be they're just like explorers who discover things, who are going to be in the lore. You saw those plaques. Those military personnel who are going to sacrifice and put their lives on the line and do what's right for the UEE. They're going to form that charge. They're going to be immortalized by the ops that they perform. Be prepared. 07.
All right,
And
you
I'm
guys,
done.
you heard it from the professor,
My soapbox
guys.
is done.
The professor has told you the deal. So I'm going to bring up our last controversial point for the night, which Show Me the Money. And I'm going to show you 2 pictures here. You folks be ready to feel free to jump in on this anytime you want to here. Let me see if I can find the right thing. is this, what do we got here? We got that. We already saw that, right? So we want to go here, right? All right. Everybody's familiar with that, right? Starter package, Aurora MR, the ship that everybody has. No, I'm just kidding. This
most people are.
Yeah, this is what they call a starter package, right? It gets you into the game, gets you access to Star Citizen, gets you your first ship, single person ship, and boom, right? Then there's this, right? All right. Now,
What?
let's talk about the show me the money. All right. Let's talk about the show me the money on this. All right. One of the criticisms and things that people bring up about Star Citizen all the time is this thing about people spending money on this game, that these people are crazy. They're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on this game. Fastcart and I had this conversation not too long ago on BBC, their show called Click. They went to CitizenCon last year and they interviewed people and they talked to them about how much money have you spent on this game. And it was just that typical man on the street kind of asking questions. The majority of the people said they spent less than $200 on the game. In other words, there are more people who are closer to this than the other one. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to spending money, what are the real motivations on, this? Are people buying ships? Are they backing the dream? Are they caught up in the marketing? What are your feelings about what motivates people? Because, every time when a sale's over, I'm not spending no more money. A sale comes around, I bought a so-and-so. What's the deal with that, right? Talk to me about what are your motivations for why you're buying stuff?
Here's the thing I'm going to say. I do a lot in my world of the financial markets and accounting and behavioral finance. There's two things, I think, right? There's two things. There's status and FOMO, right? Status being the more money that I can spend on this game, the bigger status that I get. There's going to be some recognition for how much money I put forth to show that I'm a Legatus pack owner, right? If I have disposable cash to be able to do such a thing responsibly, that is, then I'll do it, right? Now, some people have done it in different kinds of manners, but for by and large, if you have that kind of money, you're usually going to be a little bit responsible with it. Hopefully, cross your fingers. So it's status, right? But and we could talk at length about this, but CIG has created some FOMO around their ship offerings. Like, you don't know when you don't buy a ship now if it's going to be A, show up in the future, or B, if it does show up in the future, be worth the same price it was that you had an opportunity to buy it at now. And so a lot of people, and because of the strategy with LTI and because of the strategy for acquiring status, need to not miss out on buying the ships. And so what you get when you get to this $27,000 Legatus pack level, it's saying, you know what, I'm going to eliminate this as a piece of, I'm going to eliminate this as something that is going to kind of plague me. I'm going to, every time something comes out, I'm going to get it. I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to keep rolling on it. I know there's, we've seen the guys who are Legatus once, twice over, and it's particularly insane to think about that. But I think it's for people who want the status, who have FOMO, who on the third thing want to support a project that they're very passionate about. A lot of people, if you look at the demographic of people who play this game, are people who have entered, you think about people from, mid 30s, early 30s, all the way up into, early 50s, right? And that demographic is kind of dealing with more disposable income, perhaps, compared to your typical genre of PC gamers, right?
Right.
These are more individuals who have access to funds that could then relive or actually have seen a project that they've dreamed about before that they can back. And like, the more money that pours into it, the more they could see that dream of living amongst the stars become a reality, right? So they'll throw any kind of money towards Chris Roberts to say, if you're the guy who's pioneering this thing, I'm 100% behind you. And I think that that's what this base is about. And that's why you get, kind of off topic. Like, that's why you have such a fantastic community around this game. because everybody kind of shares the same vision. This is a very niche game where a guy who's well respected in this industry, in this niche, has said, I'm going to push the envelope and give my community what we've been looking for decades, right?
Okay.
So here we are, and I think that's where we'll continue to be. So without getting, into should you spend this money, should you not spend this money, all the time I tell people is that, this buying something shouldn't put you in a hard situation.
Right.
But regardless of all of that, this is something that people will spend this kind of money if the opportunity is there.
Now, Kimmy, when we showed this, you had this look on your face, and I'm trying to figure out what look it was. I don't know if this was, oh my God, really? Or you were saying, oh my God, why are they showing my pack on the screen right now? I'm not sure which one that was. So you have to kind of interpret that for us, what the deal is here.
Wow.
What was your feelings? Go ahead, give us your
I
thoughts.
didn't realize the Legatus pack was that amount.
Okay.
Really?
But no, there's no judgment behind it. But
Right.
It shocked me. I did not know it was up there.
Yeah.
Massive.
Now,
you thought it went up to Wing Commander at 15,000 and stopped, or?
Yeah.
No, I'm asking.
You know what it was? Fastcart. What it was he's like, I thought I got the highest pack. Wait a minute, let me go get my money. That's what he was thinking. That's what was on his mind. He's like, I thought I had the highest one. Yeah.
There is no judgment behind that, and at it from a standpoint of this game is so unique, and there's again it goes to Sealdian mentioned. It's disposable cash to some people. It's a hobby to some people, and it goes back to the back in the day. Griff, you can attest to this. It goes back in the day when it was all about that pride of building your PC and having that rig that was just like my pride and joy. And it was all about building it and building it the way that you want it, regardless if it was entry level, mid level, or top of the line. You loved that system. And so, with that said, this game it used to be a big thing about getting the game that would push that system. You would go into an electronics boutique, you would walk into a software, etc., where you had all the software around, and you had those guys who would say, what's the hottest game on the market there? Give me the hottest game that's out. Or you had the guy who would say, well, show me the popular game, and then they would immediately turn it to the back and see what the requirements was.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a dig at them. It was just you knew where they were and what they wanted to play, but there was those limitations, and it's just like it was a pride. It was a thing of just building your system and just saying, I'm going all out and I'm going to do this. But the game Star Citizen offers something so unique. And by golly, if you're going to spend 27 grand on that and to say, hey, this is where I'm at, and as Tenth mentioned, it's a status thing, that dynamic is there. But by golly, CIG is going to make sure that that person who buys that Legatus package is going to have a incredible experience with that package. They are going to go all out to say, you got your money's worth. And matter of fact, it was a hell of a deal. Matter of fact, I stole, this was a steal, see?
Fastcart, were you going to say?
Yeah, it's Colossal Ash. Can you explain what's in there?
Yeah, I just pulled it up.
It's basically, what?
Go ahead.
The card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's basically all the ships. It's LTI, obviously, and you get all the goodies that came with the ship up to the point that the Legatus pack sold. Came out. Like if you have the special edition Cutlass Blue with the what is it called? The stick and everything in it. The Legatus pack has it. Mm-hmm. If you have something like the UE trench coat, remember that? The Legatus package has that. Mm-hmm. It's all the limited stuff and all the ships with LTI. And the other point I wanted to bring up is that this CIG didn't make this package in a vacuum. It's because they had a a demand for it. Because a lot of people had all these ships,
Right.
and they they're spread out all over the place, and maybe too confusing to keep track of. So they put everything in this package, and people could just melt everything they had and
Makes sense.
get the package back and have everything. So it wasn't like CID made this and said people will buy it, so we're forced to buy it. We hold a gun to your head. No, it's the people who want to support the project, who probably already had all the ships, who didn't consolidate everything into one place.
Yeah. I want to go back to a comment that Tim said earlier. You used the term, I think Kimmy did too, disposable income. You're talking about people who have the type of money that could buy this, and they don't flinch. Sure, there's some trust fund babies and some other folks out there who might have that money, that's their parents' money or whatever. But most people who are operating with that level of money to spend disposably are people who know how to manage money. They're also people that don't just knee-jerk react to spending that type of money. They could be anything from people who are in finance, lawyers. I know people who have been investing in Bitcoin, very intelligent people who made a very clear-headed decision when they made purchases that were in excess of, let's say, $10,000 and up. I think that the misnomer is, and we were talking about this again from the Click Show, the misnomer is that people think that everybody who's in Star Citizen, by the way, there's over 2 million people who signed up for it, maybe, let's just say 700,000 or, I don't know, 800,000 of those people really have spent money on the game, not just sign-ups, right? But I guarantee you, the bulk of those people are not spending thousands of dollars to support Star Citizen. I know we're in Test Squadron. And I know in tests, when we get people who come in and ask, which ship should I buy? What's the newest thing? What should I get? Most of the people who are in the Discord with us will tell us, don't spend money. We will tell people that. We will tell them there are people in this org who will let you fly ship. If you're interested in a ship, we'll let you fly it. And if you like, and if you really like it, we'll do everything we can not to necessarily tell them. Now, the old fogies, we know where everybody stands, and we'll all encourage each other because we know that they've thought about it. They're just not making some knee-jerk purchase. But when new people come in the game, we encourage them, stay where you're at, stick around for a little while. If you want to fly something, let us know. We'll spawn it in the universe for you and let you go fly it as much as you want. Because that's one of the benefits of being in an org, and it doesn't have to be a big org. People in this community are very happy to share with people. But I think that we also tell people, you don't, and Fastcart said it earlier, you don't have to buy anything. Nobody's making you open your wallet or go to your bank and say, hey, I would take the credit card out and spend money on it. Most of the people are pretty clear-headed. Now, I will admit, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, can't wait till we do the luxury show, TenthSigma, because we got to do a luxury show one day. But I will admit, the only ship I bought out of strictly spontaneity was the 600i. I saw it. I didn't care what it did. I didn't care what the interior looked like. I said, I'm getting that ship. That's the only ship in my fleet that I did that. Everything else I thought about was career-based. It was like, if I get tired of this, I want to switch to do this. Or if I want to do this, or I can see myself doing this with a couple of friends. That was my motivation. And not just that. It was about backing. The more each year went by, and the more I believed in saw the tech and saw the shows and saw where they were going, that gave me more confidence to, like any other investor, like the people who just invested the extra 17 million, right? As they see the progression, they say, okay, we got evidence enough that there's enough solidness here that I'm willing to back it a little bit more, So, anyway, that's my speech on that. Anybody else got any thoughts about spending and, any rules about spending? Do you have any rules yourself about spending?
Kind of what you alluded to, Griff.
Mm-hmm.
When you add that human touch to it, and it goes back to when I had the opportunity to meet some of the devs and hear what they talked about, and knowing that this was their passion, and I mean you can't fake it, and they were straight up with you. They told you about, well, this process is a blessing and a curse in the sense that I love this. It's what I do. I love it, but at the same time, I got a wife, I got a family. They don't see me as much. That's the curse. But I love what I do, and this is great for me. And it gives you that human touch to it to say, you hear these stories, you get in contact with all the community, you see everyone out there, and you realize, wow, this is money well spent. This is so positive. It's bringing together so many people on these different levels, and this is worldwide. When you look at Bar Citizens and you say, you change that perspective and say, wow, that person got the Legatus package. Let's keep it going, baby. Let's keep it going. Let's keep
Good
it
on you.
going. Because I enjoy being around you guys. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the development to see them overcome these tech debts. It's like a reality show at some point. And the lore, David Haddock, and they're putting all this together and seeing it progress from where it was from 2012. I want to see it all the way through the end. And when that person drops in and say, I believe in this project and I have this disposable cash, I'm dropping 27 grand, no problem. And let's keep it going. I'm like,
Okay.
God bless you.
Okay.
07.
All right. Well, we are winding down. We are really winding down tonight. We had a really good conversation. No, you did a great job. We had a really great conversation with you guys tonight. We really appreciate all the comments and thoughts that you guys had. I do want to kind of let you guys know a couple things. First of all, again, thank you for the 50 viewers tonight. Thank you for the 154 followers. You guys, we had that scheduled out for the ending next week, and you guys have helped us hit that mark today. So thank you guys. For all those of you subscribed, this is our thank you for the subscriptions. We picked up 13 subscriptions today, which is just simply amazing. So we really appreciate that. We do want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on next week's show, though. Next week's show is going to be a little bit different. We always tell you a little bit of a preview. Next week, we are going to be interviewing Chris Neal, who is one of the writers with Massively Overpowered. For those of you guys who are definitely familiar with that online magazine, they review games. In particular, they've reviewed Star Citizen for quite a while. And the conversations that we're going to be having with them are based around what do game reviewers look for when they are looking to review a game. But we are also going to focus in on Star Citizen, a bit of their history and how they reviewed it and how they see it now. Like many of the magazines and folks that were reviewing a few years back, there was a lot of negative feelings about Star Citizen, but they have, over the last few years, been changing their tune a little bit. Chris Neal just joined them in 2018. And he is kind of like their go-to Star Citizen guy. And so we're going to be asking him questions about Star Citizen, how he feels about it, and just in general, his feelings about the industry in the sense of how they write about games, and particularly how they write about Star Citizen. So we're going to give you guys a head up for next Sunday. So hopefully you guys can sit in on that. Fastcart and I are going to be interviewing him only. We're not going to have 4 people on because we don't want to feel like he's being ganged up on. So just so you know, we're going to make it real comfortable for him to be able to come in, but also at the same time ask him some really direct questions in relation to editorial writing and of course reporting in the gaming industry. So that's about it. Yes, no lynch mob stakes. No lynch mob. Okay.
No, he brought up exactly what I was gonna say. You know? If you want to watch Gordon Rock, we recommend and all that. We want people to be the better selves in this situation.
Yeah.
He's going to be our guy, so we want to treat him well. So there are some articles who are like negative on Star Citizen, but this is just one journalist, and he's coming on to be our guest. So we want to show him the better side of our community.
Yep.
So please, be a better self.
Be nice citizens is what he's saying. Be nice citizens. Okay. You guys got anything? TenthSigma, where can people find you?
You can find me. I'm a little bit on a hiatus from streaming right now, but you can find me hanging out in my org, Vector27. You can find us in Star Citizen, Google Star Citizen Vector27. That's our org. Come hang, chill with us. We do all the stuff in the verse that we talked about today. Great group of people to play with, very active community. So that's where you can find me most days. I'm hanging out in that Discord and making it happen.
Okay.
Nice.
Kimmy, how about you?
Guys, you can find me on upstream in the evenings, Twitch TV, Kimmy65, and for any notifications I'm live, you can go to Kimmy65 at Twitter, Kimmy65 WDP on Twitter, and you'll get live notifications when I go live on Twitch.
Thank you. Fastcart.
You can find me on Twitter at fast_cart. I'm on Miss Hart's 80s show on the Base Radio on Tuesday evening. We have a burning question for Vampire the Masquerade with Silver Battery on his channel, Silver Battery. You can also find me on Fridays with Silver Battery. I'm mostly in the chat at that time. And so occasionally I'm on Diaspora, Relay, all over the place. So basically, if you just want to follow me, just go on Twitter, fast_cart.
Awesome. And
here too.
And here too. Yeah, you're usually here. I'm GriffinGamingRPG. You can find me on Twitch at the same name. You can also go to my Twitter, GriffinGamingRP. There's no G because they didn't let it go long enough on there. GriffinGamingRP. And like Kimmy, when I go live, it pops up on there. I'm just getting back to streaming. I streamed last night. I'm going to be streaming this week, hopefully during Invictus a little bit more. So yeah, follow us. Follow all these guys. They're wonderful people. And you all are wonderful. We really appreciate you guys being on with us tonight. We are going to raid our good friend Thale Crow. Thale, yeah, we know Thale, right? So we're going to hook him up. You guys make sure you give a shout to Thale. He's just been streaming a lot more frequently now. He's not working now, so give him some support, give him some love.
All right.
And
Vector 27 crew.
Vector 27, yeah, give him some love. And I gotta get ready to go, fast car. Stop. What? I'm getting ready to push my raid button. You always do this every week. What? Go ahead, tell me.
Oh, I just want to say, look down at Montoya and say, what? What do you want a medic? Please stop up your bootstraps.
I don't need no stinking medic.
Wait a minute. I do have one more question. Oh,
stop,
Striker, thank you for signing up. I got to fast card. I got to ask you this, dude.
Striker.
Show us that bottle you're drinking out of. Are you drinking old Homicide? What is that bottle you're tilting? You were tilting some huge bottle.
No,
what is that bottle you're tilting, dude?
Corn liquor.
It's my purple drink. It's my purple drink.
Your purple, yeah, okay, your purple drink. That's like that grandma used to say. That stuff out the steel. Holy smoke! All right, guys, send some love over to Thale Crow. Love, peace, and soul. We'll see you guys next time around.
Drinking that cart fuel, man.
Oh my God.
Just before I put any money into the cargo that I had. So I'm thinking I'm going to take the prospector out. Hey, Ops Chief.